Chapter 326.2 Alan and Lin Zhu's First Quest, Part 2. After traveling for 2 hours in the forest, they eventually reached the village. Alan and Lin Zhu were greatly welcomed by the village chief after learning that they were the adventurers who took the quest. He explained to them everything he knew about the mark on the faces of the victims, the details of the families of victims, and the timings of their deaths. Village Chief Lion Zhang further told them that the people of the village believe that it is a work of a demon, although he opinions that it might be the work of the Crushing Giants gang, who usually controls all the markets in the surrounding villages. He then lamented that the prefect's police don't even try to investigate the gang. Lin Zhu furrowed her brows in displeasure upon hearing that. She asked, what kind of backing this gang has? Lion Zhang bitterly smiled as he answered, the lord of this Qing province, Qing Chun. But what does the Qing clan has anything to do with the lives of harmless retired soldiers? Do they have a grudge in the past, or is it something else? Asked Lin Zhu. Lion Zhang looked at him and shook his head. I'm sorry, but I cannot say anything further without acquiring a strong piece of evidence. It will pose danger to not only me and my family, but also to my fellow villagers. Lin Zhu was slightly annoyed by this village chief's response. He wanted justice for his kin and friends. He had the guts to speak out the name of a suspect with a strong background, but doesn't want to reveal the reason why he thinks so. So he wanted the adventurers to take the risks of offending the Qing family, just based on his speculation. As the heiress of the Lin clan is pondering on whether she should reveal to him that she was aware of the existence of red sandalwood or not, Alan spoke to the village chief. How about showing us the places where the corpses are left? Maybe we can hunt for the clues. Lin Zhu returned to reality upon hearing Alan's words, and she nodded in agreement right away. All right, we'll just do that. She turned toward the village chief and told him to show them the locations. However, Lion Zhang refused it and only gave them the map of the forest with spots on several places. I apologize, but those places are too dangerous for low-ranked spirit warriors like us. Lin Zhu felt frustrated once again. She suddenly felt the urge to beat him and ask him why he even bothered to live in a village that is inside the forest when he was too afraid to go inside it. And this forest isn't even the Blood Hill forest to worry about the monsters. Of course, he was referring to something else, but Lin Zhu was too angry at the moment that she didn't want to ask him the reasons. Telling him that they will go on their own, she snatched the map from the village chief and ventured into the forest to check whether any clues were left behind by the culprits. While they were walking alone, Lin Zhu spoke her thoughts to Alan regarding her theory of illegal smuggling of red sandalwood. In response, Alan shook his head and voiced his opinion. Sister Lin, I think I will take back my first impressions on the case. Based on what he told us about the 16 victims, all of them were close relatives of the retired soldiers belonging to the unit named Yellow Tiger, and they were killed on a random date without any pattern. It means that this isn't simple serial killing. Alan's words made Lin Zhu suddenly realize something important. She added to his statement, surely, all of you might have belonged to the same division under the Western General, but I think the culprit has a grudge against his unit. I believe we should investigate Lion Zhang's unit instead of this gang. I too think the same, Sister Lin. Alan agreed with her words as it is logically possible. To confirm their theory, both of them started visiting the spots marked on the map. For the first few sites, everything was normal. Maybe, due to the rainfall during the past few days, the area was filled with muddy waters, forcing Lin Zhu to depend on Alan's enhanced vision. Following her request, Alan scanned the place as soon as they went to the spot where the victims were either killed or dumped away. After facing 6 failures, they were going to the 7th spot. However, on the way, Alan suddenly sensed the presence of 5 assassins hiding at the place where they were going and immediately notified the Lin clan's heiress. Really? Lin Zhu's eyes lit up as soon as she heard that the assassins were only in the 4-circle realm. She felt like they would be the ticket to the answer she was searching for. She intended to interrogate them and find out the identity of the mastermind. She asked her companion, Alan, I need you to knock them out and we capture them. Can you do it? Alan nodded, and both of them continued to maintain the same pace as if they have no idea about the trap, which lies ahead. And once they neared the spot where there were a lot of thick bushes around, one of the 5 assassins suddenly jumped from a bush and reached Lin Zhu within a fraction of a second, aiming for her throat. Unfortunately for him, their positions were already revealed to their supposed prey, and both of them were well prepared. Lin Zhu easily evaded the attack by dodging to the side, and Alan worked together with her and kicked him in the back with great force. Arg! The masked assassin let out a painful groan as he crashed into one of the bushes and disappeared. In the next second, 2 assassins from different directions came out of the bushes and attacked each of them. Careful, Alan warned as he dodged the attack aimed at his chest and grabbed the assailant's collar, slamming him onto the ground with great force. Following the plan, Alan unleashed the laser eyes and completely burnt the thighs of his respective enemy. Arg! The assassin screamed in pain before losing consciousness. Meanwhile, Lin Zhu summoned her precious semi-divine grade sword and imbued the lightning attribute power into its blade, before clashing it with the dagger aimed at her throat. As the 2 weapons collided, the lightning attribute from Lin Zhu's sword passed through the dagger and struck the assassin that attacked her. The electrical current not only inflicted heavy damage upon him, but he was also paralyzed on the spot, falling onto the ground. 2 down and 3 more to go, said Lin Zhu as she glanced at her 2 o'clock. Alan then scanned his surroundings once again and informed their new positions. As his voice wasn't that low, the 3 of them heard him, and they unanimously chose him as their prime target despite the fact that Lin Zhu has a powerful sword in her hands. The 3 of them took out advancement pills from their respective storage rings and swallowed them at the same time, increasing their realm by 1 level. Now, with their 5-circle realm cultivation, they were confident in taking out these 2 and saving their comrades at the same time. Chapter 327.3 Lin Zhu and Alan's First Quest, Part 3. Using their stealth skill, the 3 assassins turned invisible and exited the bushes without making any sound. Lin Zhu couldn't see them, but their invisibility appeared to be useless against Alan. Maybe it is because Alan was at rank 5 and their realm wasn't higher. He spotted them right away and informed his partner, Sister Lin, you're 2, 14, 4, 31 and 10, 17. As soon as she heard the words, Lin Zhu closed her eyes and stabbed the sword into the ground, unleashing her most powerful skill. Ascent of the Lightning. Upon consuming her ether energy by nearly half of the maximum, the sword released the energy into the ground, creating a seal that covered over 20 meters of her surroundings. Using a clock as the reference, she then imagined the positions of the targets as her partner mentioned earlier and attacked them. In an instant, 3 concentrated beams of lightning released from the seal on the ground toward the sky. 2 of the assassins were struck down by the lightning, and the remaining one managed to escape by a hair's breadth. The 5th assassin was sweating like crazy as he saw the death of his teammates, and he made the decision to run away. Sister Lin, he is escaping, Alan said to her immediately, to which she shook her head, let him go. After running for a while, the assassin looked back and found that they weren't pursuing him. He landed on a branch of a tall tree and sighed in relief, damn it. These 2 are far more powerful than their peers. I guess only those elites can take them out. The assassin then started moving toward his hideout to inform his higher-ups about the mission failures and the details. Little did know that a shadow is silently following him from a distance. It was the bodyguard of Lin Zhu. As an advanced stage 6 circle realm spirit warrior of the assassin path, it is obvious that a lower realm assassin can sense his presence. Some time passed away, and Lin Zhu was waiting for the captured assassins to wake up from their unconscious state. One of them opened his eyes and found himself lying on the ground with energy threads tightly binding him. In front of him were the 2 adventurers who defeated him and his teammates. As for the others, 3 of them were seen in the same state as him, although motionless. "So, are you ready to either spill the beans for why you attacked us or die?" said Lin Zhu as she raised her sword, staring at him coldly without having any glimmer of mercy in her eyes. The assassin gritted his teeth and threatened them in response. "Both of you will not leave this forest alive for sure." He then tried to get free, but those lightning energy threads were not only binding him, but also inducing a paralyzing effect on his entire body. Even his ether energy appeared to be in a static state. While he was struggling to move, Lin Zhu then spoke, "I'll ask you again. Will you answer my question or not?" The assassin appeared to be stubborn and maybe too loyal to his superior. He stayed silent. Lin Zhu's face turned dark and she immediately thrust her sword at his shoulder, making the assassin scream in pain. "My lightning attribute energy will make sure to paralyze your body, but not without removing the touch or pain sensitivity. That means you will helpless feel the pain as I stab over and over." "You bitch!" The assassin cursed at her as he continuously screamed in pain. Lin Zhu motioned her arm back and then pierced his left shoulder this time and continued, "You will eventually beg me to kill you, but I won't do that. After turning you into a disabled person, I will take you to the Imperial City where you will either be executed publicly or be imprisoned for the rest of your life without being able to even commit suicide for several years. But if you tell the truth, I will free you and your pals. So, what do you think?" The assassin's willpower was really strong. He wasn't tempted by her words and intensely stared at her without blinking for more than 10 seconds before finally giving his reply. "I was prepared to face all consequences when I took up this job. Go ahead, lady. Do whatever you want." "Okay then, you made your decision." Lin Zhu pressed the sword against his neck and sliced it without hesitation. The blood splurted out of the assassin's neck and he couldn't do anything about it. However, just as he was about to die, Lin Zhu caught his chin and poured a red-colored potion onto his neck. The injury was healed very quickly, and he returned to life from the brink of his death, looking at her in surprise. Lin Zhu then said, "I'm the daughter of Lin Wying and I can afford to spend these potions worth 10 gold coins even 1,000 times. So, if you still aren't willing then, I'll take you to the brink of death and then heal you again and again. As for your superiors, if they are strong enough to deal with us, then you don't need to be afraid. And if you want to take the secret of their identity to your death, that only means they are weak. It also implies that they won't be able to escape unscathed after my guardian encounters them, as he was currently following your teammate to your hideout. I'll ask again one more time. Tell me why you attacked us and who your boss is. In the name of Lin Clan, I will give you a quick death but will leave your teammates alive. Want a painless death or painful lifetime suffering? Want your teammates alive or get killed? Everything depends on your answer, mister." The assassin patiently listened to her words and gave an unexpected response. He laughed out loud as soon as she ended her threats. "Ha ha 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 ha, so you are the Lin Clan's princess, huh? No wonder you are so ruthless and arrogant." Bearing the pain from the shoulder injuries, the assassin then said, "Fine, I'll tell you, not because I'm craving for a quick death or something, but to show you a glimpse of the death that you will face in the near future. We were the members of Crushing Giants, an organization originally created by a major noble clan to handle the smuggling of gold and other rare materials. However, right now, we are on our own. After discovering the treasure here in the form of red sandalwood, we settled here over a decade ago. Do you know the value of them? Our organization earns over 100,000 gold coins every year by selling them to the Dragon Empire and Leon Empire. We have experts who can deal with the major noble clans. Your so-called guardian won't even make it back. As for you two, both of you were marked to death by our boss and you won't be able to escape alive. So, I will be avenged for sure." Lin Zhu furrowed her brows upon listening to his explanation. Seeing the look of confidence on the assassin's face and her failure to intimidate by her threats, for a moment, she wondered whether the opponents are really strong. But then she realized that this guy doesn't know that her bodyguard is a 6-circle realm expert. Even a 7-circle elite spirit warrior cannot kill him if he wants to escape. As a result, She got a bit calm and said as she thrust her sword into his throat, "Very well, goodbye." Chapter 328.4 Lin Zhu and Alan's First Quest Part 4. After ending the assassin's life with one strike to the neck, Lin Zhu rose to her feet and dismissed the lightning energy threads that bound the remaining assassins who were unconscious, and then started walking away in silence. Alan followed her, leaving the others alive. A while later, she ended the silence between her and the android with a question calmly. "Alan, you aren't talking for a while. Do you dislike this side of mine?" "No, I don't think much of it." Alan shook his head in response and further said, "It is just that I remembered Big Brother Lu. Whether it's your way of talking or actions, you resemble him, a lot. Actually, I should say that you appear like a lady version of my master." "Is that the reason you are comfortable with me?" asked Lin Zhu, not liking to be a replacement for someone else, to which Alan replied, "I'm not sure. Maybe, after receiving the upgrade and gaining a certain amount of individuality like Elena, I might be able to tell the answer." Lin Zhu halted her footsteps and turned around to look at him in wonder. "Upgrade? Individuality like Elena? What do you mean?" She didn't understand his words properly. Alan went stiff for a second, realizing the blunder he made by almost spilling the truth. If there is one thing that the android cannot handle, it is a disappointment from Mark. Hence, he quickly thought of something to cover it up and explained, "I meant that I have yet to know the world like my sister. My vocabulary is a bit different from the people from the mainland." Like the rest of the citizens of Imperial City, Lin Zhu was also under the opinion that Alan and Elena might be from a faraway island. She believed him and then changed the topic. "Anyway, what should we do about the problem? Should we clean it up the organization by ourselves, or should we only report it to the Imperial Palace?" Alan analyzed what he knew so far and then reminded her something. "Sister Lin, you forgot to ask him about the serial killings of the family members of the soldiers. Our quest wasn't solved yet." Wasn't the Crushing Giants organization behind the serial killings?" Lin Zhu looked at him in surprise, not expecting her friend to miss such a straight connection. "It is clear. They want to hide the red sandalwood smuggling, so they were just killing all people who ventured into the forest so far. Since the village is in the forest, it is obvious that villagers roam around and they were killed because they discovered the red sandalwood trees. Every member of the village was related to some retired soldier anyway." "Yes, that is true, but isn't it strange that those kins of the soldiers all happen to be belonging to the same unit, when there are retired soldiers of other units who also lived in the village?" Alan reminded her about the key point in the matter that they discussed a while ago. Realization dawned upon Lin Zhu. "You are correct. The serial killings might not have anything to do with the red sandalwood smuggling. That also means that the Crushing Giants organization might know a thing or two about the matter." When she said that, Alan saw a rare smile appear on Lin Zhu's face. What happened? He wondered. As he asked her whether she remembered something of a good memory, the heiress of the Lin clan answered that she got an idea and turned around before starting to walk in the direction they just came from. Alan followed her. Soon, they reached the place where the unconscious assassins were left earlier. She walked toward one of the remaining alive enemies. Alan patted her shoulder and pointed at the dead guy. "Wait, Sister Lin. You promised him that you will free his teammates." "Of course I fulfilled my promise." Lin Zhu nodded in response before adding, "But I never promised that you won't interrogate them. And don't worry, we won't kill them no matter what their answer is." Alan stared at her in a daze, seeing the shadow of Mark behind her once again. He shook his head and removed his thoughts, focusing on the present. Reaching an unconscious assassin, she asked Alan to drag him to a different location, away from the others. The remaining ones were also separated from each other. About 25 minutes later. "This is everything I know. I'm willing to leave the organization and work honestly if you leave me alive." A terrified assassin pleaded for mercy after experiencing near-death more than 16 times in a row. Not everyone has the same amount of willpower. Luckily for Lin Zhu and Alan, they gained a piece of key information regarding the quest. Hence, they didn't interrogate the others and went on their way to the village. After reaching the village, both of them visited the families of the victims and inquired whether the head of their families had done anything bad to someone or someone's family when they were in the regiment. Lin Zhu didn't hesitate to use her clan name and threats to find out the truth. In the end, both of them learned that more than 2 decades ago, during a dungeon break, these soldiers didn't evacuate a village as they were too drunk, and the captain framed his lieutenant, and everyone else also testified against him due to the fear of getting punished. As a result, the lieutenant named Yan Zhu was executed for forcing his subordinates to get drunk, and his family members committed suicide after a few days, not bearing the insults from society. From there, it became easier for Lin Zhu to guess the rest of the story. After speculating that these serial killings were probably the work of a family member of Yan Zhu, the heiress of the Lin clan confronted the village chief at his house the next day morning. The village chief was shocked when he learned that these 2 adventurers found out his secret, and also felt devastated that this isn't the work of crushing giant, but a mission of revenge. Knowing well that he doesn't have the power to go against them, Lion Zhang fell onto his knees, begging them for mercy. Looking coldly at him, Lin Zhu said, "I'm not giving you an option, village chief Lion. I'm telling you to come with us and surrender yourself to the authorities after we capture the real culprit. If you want to run away, then you can. However, we will drop this quest right away and return. Your late daughter will not get her justice from us. The rest is your wish." After giving him a stern warning, Lin Zhu left his house and Alan followed her. They started visiting each house with the portrait of Yan Zhu's younger brother, the likely suspect, as he is the not only other male in the family but also a spirit warrior. The only problem was that the portrait is of a teenager and he will be in his 30s by now. It is very difficult to identify him, but as Alan showed his confidence, Lin Zhu trusted him. She thought that it won't take very long for her to solve this quest, and will soon return to the Imperial City and reveal the illegal smuggling of red sandalwood, but she didn't know that fate has different plans for her. Chapter 329.5 Lin Zhu and Alan's First Quest, Part 5. Far away from the village, inside the caves, Lin Zhu's bodyguard, Yao Ling, was being tied by the energy threads. He appeared to be gravely injured and also in a daze. Standing in front of him is a tall old man with a white and thin beard, which was extending all the way to his feet. Crossing his hands behind his back, he was continuously asking the questions, rather softly instead of using a threatening tone, and the captured enemy was giving the answers without hesitation or struggle. It looked as if he was hypnotized. "Mr. Yao, I was curious. If I finish off your young miss, will Lu Zhen come after us?" the old man asked after learning of Alan's background. Yao Ling shook his head. "No, owner Lu does seem like he hates our young miss. He probably won't." The old man stroked his beard and fell into thoughts. "So, as long as I leave Alan alive, there will be no problem with Lu Zhen, huh? The Qing clan doesn't have the strength or willpower to help us if I unnecessarily offend that firearms seller. But at the same time, I can't let those 2 get away after learning about the existence of my treasure. What to do? Wait a second. Why should I be worried about him when it wasn't me who kills them?" The old man raised his head to look at Yao Ling and let out a smile. Meanwhile, back in the village, Alan and Lin Zhu started searching for the culprit as they visited each house in the village one after another. They were sure that the serial killer was hiding in the village. Hence, they spared no effort to make this quest a success. Not to mention, Alan even drew a sketch of the person in the portrait by analyzing his teenage-looking face. And luckily for them, they eventually found the young man who was going by the surname Yu, but his face almost matched Alan's sketch. Lin Zhu was very much impressed and patted his shoulder with a smile on her face. "Alan, you are really a genius. We have finally found Yan Zhu's brother, the serial killer." She purposely spoke those words in front of the young man in order to study his reaction. But even she didn't expect him to attack them all of a sudden. instead of trying to run or feigning ignorance. Thankfully, her high reflexes made her dodge the dagger aimed at her throat, and Alan took the action by releasing laser beams through his eyes and making a hole out of the enemy's thighs. Arg, the young man screamed in pain, making the neighbors turn curious. Meanwhile, Lin Zhu summoned her semi-divine grade sword and poured lightning energy into it before stabbing at his shoulder. The young man screamed once again, although this time he also felt numbness all over his body. Lin Zhu then coldly spoke, "Yan Huyan, we know who you are and everything about your ploy of revenge. Don't worry. We will not let Lion Zhang go unpunished either, and your brother's name will also be cleared. Now, all I want to ask you is whether you are willing to quietly follow us to the..." Maybe Alan's laser beams were too much for him, or maybe she stabbed him a bit too hard. The young man directly lost consciousness before she even finished. Damn it! Lin Zhu became a little bit frustrated and kicked his body as she spoke. This bastard fainted before even confirming that he is the culprit. "What should we do now?" asked Alan, to which Lin Zhu thought for a few seconds and replied, "I have got an idea." An hour later, somewhere in the middle of the forest, Lion Zhang, the village chief, and Yan Huyan, Yan Zhu's younger brother, alleged serial killer, were facing each other in the presence of Lin Zhu and Alan. It appeared that both of them have hatred for each other, which was clear from their respective gazes. Lin Zhu then said, "This is my way of giving justice to both of you. You can talk it out or try to kill each other, whatever. I don't care. In the end, we will be taking one of you with us to the Imperial City. You have got 10 minutes to settle your issues. If the situation will not be solved, then we will take both of you. So, if you have any grudges, this is the perfect moment to fulfill them. And I don't need to remind you too that neither of you can outrun us, so don't try to escape. Okay, I have said enough. Your 5 minutes start now." Lin Zhu started the timer on her pocket watch and silently watched the both of them. Her lightning sword is in her hands, and Alan was also ready to launch an attack on anyone that tries to run away. Soon, a battle emerged between the two of them. They were weak spirit warriors and didn't possess any flash moves or anything. All there were punches, kicks, and energy attacks once in a while. However, as their respective strengths and skills were on the same level, the battle was quite interesting. Or at least, it was what Lin Zhu thought as a spectator. Within 6-7 minutes, the battle came to a climax, and it was tilted in Yan Huyan's favor, owing to his young age and calmness in the battle. As the village chief was clearly showing signs of tiredness due to high-paced battle, Yan Huyan took advantage of it and used all of his strength to thrust his dagger forward. Lion Zhang's chest was stabbed by the dagger, and the blood started to flow down his body while he lost the energy in his legs. "Ha ha ha," Yan Huyan started laughing crazily. "Until now, I have killed you more than 1,000 times in my head, but doing it in reality gives me more happiness than I expected." The young man then pulled back the dagger into his hand before placing it on Lion Zhang's throat. "Goodbye." He was about to slash his throat and end his life. However, just then, his wrist was grabbed by an arm belonging to Lin Zhu. She said, "If he dies without admitting it in front of the Emperor, you cannot remove the taint on your brother's name, Mr. Yan. According to the Constitution of Phoenix Empire, the accused cannot be declared as a criminal if he dies before the investigation results are over." Yan Huyan and Lion Zhang were shocked by her reply, although for different reasons. While the former complained inwardly that Lin Zhu was fooling him when she said that she was giving him an opportunity to take revenge. On the other hand, Lion Zhang, who was burning with revenge, thought of his dead daughter. He closed his eyes and ignited the ether particles within his body and let out a burst of loud laughter. "I see. Thank you, Ms. Lin, for reminding me of such a key point. Yan Huyan, I lost against you, and I realized that I don't have the ability to give justice to my daughter." Lin Zhu furrowed her brows as she heard those words. "Lion Zhang." The village ignored her and continued to speak. "After killing so many innocent people, you will have to be punished, not just literally. Your brother died as a traitor and will forever be a traitor. That will be a befitting punishment too. Before he finished that last word, all the ether energy in his body converged to become a solid ball before it exploded, releasing a huge amount of energy. As thousands of joules of energy were released from Lian Zhang and spread to the surroundings, Alan dashed forward and stood in front of Lin Zhu like a wall. The energy struck him but didn't even damage his clothes, much less injure him. Meanwhile, Yan Huyan got blasted away and crashed onto a banyan tree. As Alan moved aside, Lin Zhu saw a dead Lian Zhang on the ground, followed by hearing a loud scream from behind. No. She turned around to see the fallen young man who suddenly lost his hopes, but she doesn't appear to care much about the sudden change in the situation. She simply said, "Alan, knock him out. We will take him to the Imperial City." Just as Alan nodded and walked toward Yan Huyan, leaving her side, all of a sudden, a shadow emerged from her behind and grabbed her arms. "Young miss, the situation has gotten dangerous. We are leaving right now." Chapter 330.6 Lin Zhu and Alan's First Quest, Part 6. Yao Ling, what the hell happened to you? Lin Zhu was surprised to see the bloodied figure of her loyal bodyguard. Without wasting any moment, she took out a recovery potion from her storage ring and fed the guy. As his injuries were healed in a jiffy, Yao Ling once again urged her to escape from the forest. "You are in grave danger. The boss of the gang is far stronger than me. He isn't someone we can face head-on. We need to leave right away." Lin Zhu's face stiffened at his words. She couldn't help but remember the words of the assassin who warned her that she will only leave the forest as a corpse. Luckily for her, the culprit has already been apprehended and she completed the quest. So, there's no reason left for her to stay here and risk her life. She turned her head to look at the android who was looking at her and Yao Ling. "Alan, pick up the target. We are leaving right away." Alan nodded and lifted the unconscious prisoner on his shoulder like a sack of rice and followed his only human friend. They started walking toward the east, contrary toward the north, where the nearest exit of the forest is located. Yao Ling's plan is simple. He claimed that he found a hidden cave behind the waterfalls where they can hide for a few days and leave the place. Lin Zhu trusts him very much, and she decided to follow his idea as she wasn't confident about taking on the enemy that even her bodyguard can't handle. As for Alan, his thoughts aren't complicated. Wherever Lin Zhu goes, he will go there. As a result, the group of four, including the unconscious culprit, traveled deep into the forest to reach the waterfall, going against the water flow of a nearby river. The scenery wasn't that great to look at. It was a simple waterfall falling from 25-30 meters in height. Rocks are everywhere, and the water was quite muddy due to the heavy rainfall followed by landslides. But then again, they aren't here for sightseeing. Hence, Lin Zhu didn't pay much attention to the surroundings and followed her bodyguard. By the time it was noon, they reached the cave behind the waterfall and entered the place. Yao Ling took a fire torch out of nowhere and asked for Alan's assistance. As the android was lighting up the fire torch using his incineration skill, although controlled one-circle realm power, Lin Zhu commented, "You are pretty prepared for all kinds of situations, Uncle Yao." "It's my job to keep you safe, young miss," replied Yao Ling as he started walking forward on an irregular narrow path, leading the others deep into the underground cavern, where there is enough sunlight coming through the small openings. Lin Zhu looked around and nodded in satisfaction. It seems like she liked it. She then asked Alan about his opinion. Alan didn't think much of the place. He was usually comfortable with any kind of situation, but since his friend asked him, he felt obligated to give a proper answer and scan the surroundings. It was at that moment he realized something and he immediately grabbed Lin Zhu's hand, pulling toward him and embracing her. She was taken aback by his sudden actions. As for the captured Yan Huyan, he was thrown aside. At the same time, her heartbeat spiked up to the peak and she tried to free herself while scolding him. "What the hell are you doing, Alan? Leave me." Alan calmly answered as he looked at Yao Ling. "Sister Lin, he appears to be under someone's control and this cave was filled with several traps." "Trap?" Lin Zhu furrowed her brows and stared at her calm-looking bodyguard. She found it unbelievable that someone of Yao Ling's caliber can even get hypnotized, but she cannot ignore Alan's words either. Then she remembered how they were dragged to this place, and she realized that she made a mistake. No, more than that, she also blamed herself in her heart for not realizing it sooner and slightly blamed Alan in her head for being so careless. After all, if Alan has the power to sense such a change in Yao Ling, he should have done it before. But now they were already in the trap. Taking a deep breath, she then asked, "Do you know a way to free him, Alan?" Before Alan answered, Yao Ling quickly opened his mouth, feigning ignorance. "Mr. Alan, don't speak such bullshit. It's not funny." Lin Zhu momentarily shifted her attention toward him. Walking slowly towards the both of them, he continued, "I'm at the elementary stage of Exalt Realm, low 7 circle. It's impossible for me to get hypnotized by anyone under the legendary realm. I really wonder why Mr. Allen wanted to sow discord between me and young Miss." When he was finished, he was only a few feet away from Lin Zhu, and he was about to unleash a skill to speed up and strike Lin Zhu's neck within a fraction of a second. However, Lin Zhu acted quickly as soon as she heard those words. She summoned her semi-divine sword and poured her lightning attribute power into the blade along with her ether energy. Even at his death door, Uncle Yao never going to reveal his real cultivation, especially in the presence of someone like Alan who wasn't trusted by him. And Alan wasn't the type to prank around. "So, who the hell are you?" Yao Ling halted in his footsteps as he got caught. "Well, it looks like I could no longer fool you." He then straightened his back and put back his hands, introducing himself. "People call me the ghost of the Qing. Anyways, one of you is going to die and the other will soon forget it." As soon as he ended the words, 2 of the seals were activated and placed around. Both of them created a 2-layer strong wall kind of barrier to block the only open escape route. The only other way to escape is to destroy the ceiling while defending oneself against the collapse of the cavern and also the onslaught of puppetized Yao Ling. Even a fool knows what to choose. Lin Zhu went into battle stance and said to the android, "Alan, get ready to battle." Alan then replied, "Sister Lin, I have yet to give my answer to your earlier question." As Lin Zhu glanced at him, he continued, "I only know one way to free him from the hypnotic state. It is by killing him." "No," screamed the Lin clan's heiress. "Yao Ling is her trusted bodyguard who was protecting her since the day she was born. She cannot kill him unless there is no other choice. We have to knock him out. We can then tie him up and treat him at the Imperial City. And I will sit back and do nothing, right?" The enemy mocked them in a sarcastic tone. He further gave a bit of warning, "Before worrying about this fellow, worry about your lives. Alan, let's go. Use anything. Just don't take his life." Lin Zhu dashed forward at full speed and she was followed closely by Alan. Due to the small distance, it only took them a second to reach the target. She took the initiative to attack. Yao Ling also activated the dash skill in time and turned into a blur. But in the next second, a painful scream escaped behind Lin Zhu, right in front of Alan, as 2 laser beams unleashed from Alan and struck his abdomen. Chapter 331.7 Lin Zhu and Alan's First Quest, Part 7. The invisibility wore off right away, and Yao Ling was seen on his knees with 2 on his stomach, of which one of them cleanly pierced the navel, while the other only heavily bruised the skin. The blood was gushing out of his navel at a rapid pace while he helplessly fell to the side. "You bastard!" Meanwhile, Lin Zhu, who leaped forward in reflex, slowly landed on the ground and looked at the scene. A look of surprise appeared on her face. Yao Ling was defeated just like that. She turned her head to look at Alan, who then explained, "I attacked his navel, where not only the central focal point of the energy pathway system is located, but was also one of the vulnerable parts of the human. Without any external defensive barrier on top of a body, it is easy for my laser beams to strike it. He was quite careless to attack me, I should say." As Lin Zhu stared at him in a daze, feeling it very hard to believe her eyes, Alan reminded her to quickly heal the unconscious party or else the latter would die due to blood loss. She hurriedly healed her bodyguard by pouring potions on the injured part, while Alan scanned the barrier and walked toward it. Touching the scarlet barrier, he mumbled, The barriers were stuck onto each other. The defensive stat is about 7.6 and has no weak spots. It can be solved by unleashing either the light dragon or a light beam. But the only problem is that the cooldown periods vary on the outcome. If we face an unexpectedly strong opponent, then these skills from the sword will come into use. In such a case, it is too much of a waste. As Alan was formulating a strategy to get out of this place, Lin Zhu, meanwhile, sent her lightning attribute energy into the body of Yao Ling, and made sure to paralyze all the ether particles so that even if he woke up later on and tries to free himself, they would get enough time to knock him out again. Alan takes out the divine sword of Emperor Shun, and the lightning sword in Lin Zhu's hand started shaking wildly. What happened, Lei? Usually, all the semi-divine grade traditional weapons develop a certain amount of consciousness due to the cores of the beasts that were used in their creation. That is also the reason why Doom's scythe tried to escape from Mark's grasp, back when he acquired it from the assassins of the Church of Doom. If it isn't for the fact that the system wiped out Emperor Shun's soul fragment and the weapon's consciousness from the divine sword, it would have been impossible for Alan to even wield it with his current strength. Anyways, back to the present situation, Lin Zhu's semi-divine weapon, which she was using for more than a decade, spoke its mind through telepathy. It appears to be afraid of the sword in Alan's hands. It only then did Lin Zhu finally realize the odd situation and turned her head to look in the direction of Alan. Her eyes fell on the glowing divine sword and widened in surprise. Dismissing her lightning sword, she left the unconscious Yao Ling on the ground and walked toward him with a look of surprise. Alan, what sword is that? The intensity of its aura is off the charts. My master gifted me, replied Alan with a proud smile on his face before raising it above his head. Looking at it, she thought, it looks like owner Lu wasn't as bad as he appears after all. He indeed treats Alan more than a servant or a simple family member. The light energy flowing into the sword glowed brighter as he swung it down. Cracks appeared on the lower part of the barrier where the sword slashed down. He swung it down at that part 2 more times and then finished with a punch. A hole was formed in the barrier. Both of them got out of the cave while carrying an unconscious person respectively. They moved at a slow pace without forgetting to be keeping an eye on the surroundings. About 35–40 minutes later, Yao Ling got out of his unconscious state. As soon as Lin Zhu heard him groan while opening his eyes, she threw him onto the ground and summoned her weapon before moving to Alan's side just in case. Thankfully, he appeared to be himself without the signs of being hypnotized again, thereby reducing a great headache for the Lin clan's heiress. Yao Ling first expressed his confusion about how he was in the forest when he was supposed to be captured. Once it was cleared by Lin Zhu, he then explained of his story. After following the assassin to the hideout, he got caught and fought with a couple of 6 Circle Realm experts before taking on the boss, which eventually led to his capture. From his story, Lin Zhu once again confirmed that the enemy is indeed far stronger than they can handle. She already decided to quietly leave this place. Hence, there is no change in the plan, although their speed was rather quick with Yao Ling volunteering to carry their lone baggage while sending him to an unconscious state every time he wakes up. 6 more hours passed away and the sunlight slowly disappeared over the Phoenix Empire. As they were too careful and went on a longer route under Alan's guidance, it took them a while to finally escape not only the forest, but also the ambushes placed at several exits of the forest. At the moment, they were almost at the border of Qing province and the Kunyu mountain range. Alan's strategy is to go into the mountains and take a detour to the imperial city. By taking full advantage of his scanning ability, Alan was confident about losing the trail in the mountains. Of course, he was confident about taking the enemy, but Lin Zhu insisted on avoiding the battle at all costs. She might be brave but not foolish and reckless. Hence, Alan had to opt for this method. However, even he didn't anticipate the enemy's bold move. Just as they reached one of the peaks of the Chuashan Hills, the place outside the Qing province's border where they planned to rest for the night, a large-scale golden barrier was erected from 4 sides, trapping them in between. The 4 elderly mages who created the barrier, through joint effort, started walking toward their target. What the? Lin Zu's widened in surprise and Yao Ling panicked. He immediately made a request. Young miss, use the teleportation scroll and escape from here. How in the hell we walk straight into the trap? Lin Zu questioned Alan without bothering to hear Yao Ling's request. This time Alan didn't have an answer. He shook his head. I don't know, but I'm sure that there is no trap laid here before we reached. That means they anticipated your strategy and were waiting for us here, asked Lin Zu, feeling that her suspicion might be right. Alan thought for a bit and answered, either that or they were tracking us from far away every second. I cannot sense anyone's presence around 500 meters, though. A tracking seal. Lin Zu's attention immediately shifted to her bodyguard, who could only bitterly smile upon realization. Damn. Chapter 332.8. Lin Zu and Alan's First Quest, Part 8. The golden barrier formed over the hill illuminated the area that it covered. In an instant, Lin Zu, Alan, and Yao Ling could see their surroundings as well as they could in a day. Throwing away the unconscious Yan Huyan aside, the 3 of them took a triangular formation in order to keep an eye on all sides. Maybe it is because the top of the hill is an open place, or maybe it is because the top echelons of the Crushing Giants gang were confident enough to take out their enemies. Whatever the reason might be, the boss of the gang and his 4 elders calmly climbed up the hill and slowly walked toward Lin Zu and others from all sides without any sudden ambushes. Meanwhile, Alan was checking out the barrier that covered the entire hill. After analyzing its power through his scanning ability, he said, Sister Lin, this barrier is quite different from the one that was placed at the cave. It seems to have a number of functions like anti-teleportation, noise canceling, vision canceling, self-repair, and ether restriction. As Alan's voice wasn't low, the long-bearded old man who was walking with the help of a wooden staff let out a smile and nodded. Indeed, the servant of Lu Zhen won't be an ordinary expert. Not only you had the strength, but you also have great sensory abilities. It is too bad that you had a strong background that we cannot offend, but that also means that you won't be able to leave alive from here, as we want to protect our secret. The old man's statement first shocked Lin Zu and Yao Ling, and then followed by making them feel depressed, as their entire day had gone bad all because they discovered the existence of red sandalwood. While Yao Ling was regretting his capture, Lin Zu was wondering whether she made the wrong choice in accepting this quest. After all, it is clear that they were at a great disadvantage when facing 4 experts of the Peak 6 Circle Realm and a 7 Circle Realm expert. As she was blaming herself in her head, Yao Ling spoke with a determined look, bringing her to reality. Young miss, all of this is my fault. I will detonate myself to take down the enemies and the barrier altogether. You and Mr. Allen should escape. What did you say? She gave a sharp look as she immediately rejected the idea. There's no way I'll allow you to do that, Uncle Yao. Alan then shifted his attention to his friend as she was the leader of this party. Sister Lin, what is your decision? Kill them and escape or destroy the barrier and escape? She took a glance at him, and then at the enemies that surrounded them. After quick thinking, she connected her consciousness with her storage ring and took out a scroll before handing it to the android. Here, this is an instant teleportation scroll, which will take you directly to the Lin clan's mansion, as long as you are not far than 10,000 km from our home. Look for an opportunity and use it by pouring ether energy. She gave away her life-saving treasure to Alan without caring about her own life. Of course, she took this decision not just because she cares for Alan, but it was also because of Mark. She knew that Alan's unreasonable master would probably destroy the whole Lin clan in revenge, once he learns that she was the one who dragged her friend into this adventuring business. And not to mention, if she wasn't with him, he could have escaped on his own with ease. For the sake of her clan, Alan must stay alive, or at least that was what she thought at the moment. However, she doesn't know that Alan cannot activate the scroll, as he doesn't have any ether energy inside his system. But as he cannot say it out loud because of his master's order, Alan replied without taking the scroll from her hand. The best course of action in this current situation is for you to escape, not me. Big brother Lu is out of town, and I don't have much credibility compared to the heiress of a major noble clan when it comes to convincing Lord Lin or Emperor Shang. You underestimate your master's fame in the city, Alan, said Lin Zhu, not intending to back down from her decision. You just need to meet my father and explain it to him. Without fail, he will talk to His Majesty to deploy a general to save us. Alan stared at her while thinking about how to convince her in a logical way. But the enemies will not sit around and do nothing, right? The boss of the gang appeared to have lost his patience and spoke out loud. Okay, you have wasted enough time with pointless discussion. Now, prepare yourselves to die. He raised the staff and slammed its bottom end on the ground. A mud dragon rose from the soil and flew toward Lin Zhu's party at a very quick pace. Careful, screamed Yao Ling as he quickly shielded his young miss. Without hesitating to suppress his strength, he unleashed a barrier in the shape of a scarlet wall made of his ether energy. While the barrier couldn't manage to stop the mud dragon, it took some of the damage and reduced the dragon's size, indicating its reduced power. Alan immediately summoned his divine sword and swung it down at the incoming attack. The mud dragon was cleaved into two before disappearing into thin air, taking the enemies by surprise. The old man furrowed his brows as his eyes fell on the glowing sword. That sword's aura is too powerful. A top-tier semi-divine grade sword, or... As a crazy guess came to his mind, he dismissed the wooden staff and summoned his personal weapon, a semi-divine grade staff with the shape of a snake with its cobra head constantly spitting little flames. Ashe, check out that sword's grade, he instructed. The flames spitted by the cobra-headed scepter intensified all of a sudden as the old man received a reply. His eyes widened upon hearing it. A divine grade. His facial expression immediately changed, and a look of greed appeared on his face. He raised the scepter once again to unleash the skill, and this time he didn't play around. Chapter 333, Lin Zhu and Alan's first quest final. Elders, summon that thing right now. He ordered the elders who were silently standing away in different directions. After that, he proceeded to unleash another mud dragon, but this one was a lot bigger and appeared to be quite powerful, almost reaching the power of a legendary realm beast, Low 8 Circle. Seeing that their boss was going all out right from the beginning for some reason, the other four mages also raised their respective scepters and unleashed a combination skill, summoning a giant serpent with 4 heads. Each head was of a different attribute: fire, wind, lightning, dark, and the monster seems to be in the 7 Circle realm, turning Lin Zhu's face pale. We're doomed. She felt like all of her plans were useless in front of these extraordinary powers, and there was no way they could escape. I'm sorry, she mumbled in sadness and looked at Alan's back as the latter raised the sword above his head. Even Yao Ling was also not confident about escaping with his life. Hence, he decided to follow his original plan. He dashed forward toward the giant serpent and the 4 elders, planning to detonate his ether particles and take down the enemies with him. But just as he reached halfway, he felt an enormous power behind him. The 4-headed serpent started shivering as it raised its head. Even the elders took a step back in reflex. Yao Ling couldn't help but stop in his tracks and turn around only to see a giant light dragon floating above the heads of Lin Zhu and Alan. What the hell? Meanwhile, the old man looked like he was also in a daze. Supreme Realm. Roar! The light dragon let out a powerful roar as Alan swung down the sword. Skill, light dragon complete. Go. The light dragon, which was only as big as 10 FT, rushed forward while opening its mouth. Defend! The old man momentarily forgot about the energy mud dragon that was summoned right beside him and hurried up to conjure a defensive wall. The light dragon slammed into the barrier, destroyed it, then went on its way, collided with the boss of the gang along with his energy mud that was on standby, and finally struck the wall of a barrier. The golden barrier was destroyed. The mud dragon and the old man were nowhere to be seen, and the surroundings became dark once again. Skill illumination. The words escaped Alan's mouth before a wave of light energy was released by the divine sword, illuminating the surroundings. The android then turned around to look at Lin Zhu and smiled. "The barrier is destroyed. Will you teleport to your home?" He didn't have much reaction to the death of the enemy of the prowess of the light dragon. All he cared is about completing the mission that he had taken. Seeing that he helped out his friend to teleport away, Lin Zhu's heartbeat rose rapidly as she stared at Alan, forgetting everything around. Sister Lin, Sister Lin. Alan had to call her a couple of times to bring back her to reality. Alan, she pointed her finger at the empty space before them. What was that? "Oh, it is one of the skills that are possessed by the sword," calmly replied the android. Lin Zhu followed up with the next question. "What was that sword anyway?" "My master calls it the divine sword Ares, which was once wielded by Emperor Ku and passed down to Emperor Zhai, Emperor Yao, and finally Emperor Shun." Emperor Ku, Shun, Yao, and Zhai. Lin Zhu was never shocked more than when she heard of those figures. "You mean the one from the legends? I heard various stories about them but didn't know that they were real. How did you master acquire it?" Alan answered without hiding the truth, as it wasn't prohibited by his master. It was given by Emperor Shun's spirit. So, the stories about those 5 emperors and 3 sovereigns becoming immortals and leaving for the celestial realm might be true, after all, exclaimed Lin Zhu in excitement before she came to her senses by another piece of logic came to her mind. Nah, their names might have also been used to cover up its real origins. She doesn't know whether Mark lied to Alan or not, but one thing became clear to her. Alan was too precious for his master. She also realized that it might be challenging for her to free Alan from his master's control. Perhaps she should just stop thinking about it and try to get along with Mark instead so that he willingly frees Alan. Or else, she would be forced to live on the first floor of the Genesis weapons store after her marriage. Wait a second. Lin Zhu suddenly realized that something was off in her latest thoughts. Marriage? Are you crazy? Why the hell are you thinking of such a ridiculous thing? Her eyes unknowingly shifted to Alan, who shifted his attention to the kneeling 4 elders. The 4-headed serpent was dismissed by them, upon realizing that their enemy is too strong for them to even try and escape. As Alan walked toward them while feeling that they were no longer a threat with the fear clearly displayed on their faces, Lin Zhu kept staring at his back. Well, alongside his looks, he does have perfect broad shoulders, neither too buffed like the second prince nor thin like the third prince. She shook her head immediately. "What are you thinking, Lin Zhu? Get a hold of yourself." 1 week later, on one of the beaches of Fujian Island, Mark was enjoying a morning walk alongside Song Yue, with both of them linking their arms and chatting about various things, although it was mostly Mark talking about the stories from his past life. "So, you use this thing called a phone to talk to a person even from the other side of the world." Song Yue couldn't help but be excited whenever her fiancé explained a new thing that was unheard of in this world. Mark nodded with a smile and proudly bragged about his past once again for the nth time. "It's just the beginning, my shats. We can take photos, record our moments to watch them later, and learn things that were happening in a corner of the world. The technology developed so quickly that by the time of the war, we can wrap the superphones around our wrist like a bracelet." Oh. While Song Yue didn't understand even half of Mark's explanation about the features of the mobile phones from his time, she was fascinated by the things from the other world and even wanted to go there one day if she gets an opportunity. After a while, the Black Knight entered the beach to fetch the couple for the morning breakfast. However, as he saw the both of them quite intimate with each other, a satisfactory smile appeared on his face. "I guess I shouldn't disturb them. It is just breakfast anyway. Missing it will not be a big deal." Seeing that his daughter is quite happy with his future son-in-law, He turned around to walk away to busy himself with sword training. As a mage, he was never good with swords, but lately, to pose as the mysterious swordsman, he was practicing common sword techniques from the books sold by the Swordmasters Guild. Chapter 334, Tishanen's Breakthrough. It was the time of the day when the sun was almost at its peak position. Mark, Song Yue, and Song Yun finished their lunch together, and the former started talking about his plans for their next destination. Meanwhile, the manticore was sleeping. As usual, the anaconda continued to coil itself around the mountain and keep an eye on the ocean, and the demigod realm beast, Lan Ju, on the other hand, was babysitting the golden-furred kitten. The Zhang and Tishanen were of the same species and shared a common ancestor. Hence, it didn't take long for them to bond. Not to mention, the kitten was also of Beast Emperor grade. As a result, Lan Ju became its teacher and tried his best to train the junior. For the past few days, he woke up the little kitten early in the morning and made it run 10 laps around the perimeter of the island as a warm-up. After that, Tishanen will tag along with Lan Ju as it goes into the ocean to catch some beasts. The kitten, which used to only drink milk, eat eggs and some cooked chicken meat until it came onto the island, was fed the meat of the high-quality aquatic spirit beasts along with their core. However, since it refuses to eat raw food unlike the manticore, Mark had to cook it in the form of stew before feeding it. Song Yun also helped by volunteering to cut down the beasts, removing inedible parts, washing their meat, etc. After eating fill, the kitten will sleep until the evening, and then it will spar the manticore in darkness to improve its reflexes and senses. Of course, it goes without saying that the Beast King will go easy on the little creature. As a result, Tishanen grew stronger at a rapid pace. Only 10 days have passed since they came onto the island, and the golden-furred kitten was already on the brink of making a breakthrough to the four-circle realm, although its size hasn't changed a bit from the day it was born. Very soon it will make a breakthrough. Mark was also postponing his plans for the past couple of days for the same reason, and if all goes well, it will happen today. At present, somewhere deep in the ocean about 300–400 meters below the surface, a 5-tailed scarlet leopard was choking a great white shark with one of its tails while the little kitten was watching it from the leopard's head. It was surrounded by some kind of bubble technique that was not only nullifying the water pressure, but also making it stick to the leopard's head. Soon, the powerful Beast King of the Seven-Circle Realm became a corpse, and the other tails of the Zhang slapped down the water, making the both of them swim upwards to the surface. In no time, both of them returned to the island. As soon as Tishanen got free, the kitten left its master and rushed toward one of the houses and entered the one where the humans were in the middle of their discussion. Meowwoowa. The delightful greeting call from the kitten interrupted them, and the couple rose to their feet immediately to welcome it with smiles on their faces, as if their little kid returned from kindergarten. As Song Yue and Mark raised their arms to hug it, the kitten halted in its footsteps and stared at the both of them. Tishanen, come here. You'll come to this big sister, right? Mark and Song Yue crouched down and suddenly fought for its attention. It's just a little contest they do every day for fun. The little kitten moved his head left and right to look at both of them for a while before it rushed towards Song Yue and snuggled in her arms. Song Yue let out a grin and showed a V to her fiancé. Shats 4 Marky 2. Hee, I win once again. Mark crossed his arms to the chest and scolded the kitten, betrayer. I'm your master, and yet you always take her side. As soon as the words escaped his mouth and he looked away, the kitten suddenly opened his eyes and jumped onto his shoulder, rubbing its cheeks with his cheeks. Malwa. Mark didn't look at it and continued to play it out. Humph, I won't talk to you. Song Yue knew that Mark was acting, so she didn't interfere and quietly watched the kitten, which jumped onto his head and then at his other shoulder to lick his other cheek. When Mark turned his head once again, the kitten dropped down his head and let out a woeful meow, expressing its sadness. Perhaps that already melted down Mark's heart and he didn't try to take the joke too far, quickly petting it by rubbing its chin. The kitten became happy, and it jumped back into Song Yue's lap to take a short nap, making Mark shake his head with a smile. This cheeky little brat. Roughly after 15 minutes, the kitten was woken up by Song Yue, and its eyes directly fell on a spherical-shaped organ that is as big as Mark with bones protruding from all of its sides. It appears to be so much rich in energy. Even the manticore in the house and the anaconda on the mountain couldn't help but stay awake and stare in the direction where they were sensing such energy. However, just like the aquatic beasts in the ocean, none of them dared to come closer to the core as Lan Ju displayed the aura of a demigod. Of course, after staying for more than a week on the island, Song Yun already knew his real identity, and it appeared that Mark doesn't care about it. Neither did Song Yun confront Mark on the matter, nor did the latter have given any kind of explanation. In fact, it only made Song Yun more loyal to his friendship with his son-in-law. Anyways, back to the present. Tishanan jumped from Song Yue's arms and landed on the ground before steadily walking toward the core. Looking at it, Mark asked the Zheng once again, "Are you really sure that Tishanan is going to be all right? He is only a 3-circle realm beast." He was worried that the core of a 7-circle realm beast king will be too much for the tiny little kitten. For a brief moment, Lan Ju showed signs of being frustrated upon being questioned by Mark for the nth time since noon. But since he is the future patriarch of the Lan sect, he cannot get angry with him without any good reasons. Hence, taking a deep breath, Lan Ju answered as calmly as possible, "I told you earlier, Tishanan is different from me. He was born to an ancient-grade beast and would likely be one in the future, so there's nothing to be worried about." Mark nodded and signaled the kitten to proceed. As Tishanan opened its tiny mouth, Lan Ju forcefully plucked out a bone, letting the energy escape the core through a hole. The demigod realm beast then redirected the energy toward the kitten. At a rapid pace, all the energy flew into the kitten, which started refining it. Soon, a blinding flash of light covered the kitten, and the latter started to float in the air. The phenomenon made Lan Ju's eyes light up, and he exclaimed, "It's going better than I expected." Meanwhile, far away from the location, deep inside the ocean where there is no sunlight, a pair of glowing eyes opened before a deep voice escaped like a sonic boom. "The time has come sooner than I thought. I wonder whether he is truly ready for the task." Chapter 335. Tishanan mutates into an ancient-grade beast. At one of the beaches of the Fujian Island, the humans along with Lan Ju were staring at the floating ball of light while praying for success. Earlier, when Tishanan was covered by the light and flew into the air instead of making a breakthrough to the next realm, the Zheng explained to everyone that the golden-furred kitten's bloodline triggered the process of mutation. However, it wasn't as if there was 100% possibility. But if it becomes successful, then the little kitten will become an ancient-grade beast like its parent. Mark was obviously excited to see the kitten power up. The stronger it gets, the more useful it will become to him in battles. Or maybe he can just let Song Yue continue to keep it as a pet while the latter acts as her secret protector. Anyways, back to the current situation. The kitten continued to float as a ball of light in midair for the next 10 minutes before it expanded into an elliptical form vertically. Once the light was dimmed, in place of the golden-furred kitten, everyone saw an attractive, cute little boy with shoulder-length golden hair. In human terms, he can be considered a 3-4-year-old kid. The boy slowly landed on the ground and looked around the surroundings before examining his own hands and legs. "Is that our Tishanan?" asked Song Yue, rubbing her eyes. Just like Lan Ju, the kitten's transformation didn't leave any trace of a beast. Meanwhile, Mark immediately activated his sage eyes to inspect its details. Tishanan. Title Na. Status humanoid. Grade ancient. Species cat. Gender male. Rank 4 intermediate state. Type balanced. Attribute water wind light. Description: the child of the golden demon cat, which is one of the demon lords of the Undying Lands. Like the other beast emperor and above-grade beasts, it matures along with its power instead of its age. Skills: Heal. Using the attribute of light, the beast could heal the target's injuries and wounds. Effect: 120% attack power. Hydroblast. Using the attribute of water, the beast can spit a powerful stream of water and injure the enemies. Effect: 130% attack power. Air gust. Using the attribute of wind, the beast can release wind over a specific target area, delivering great shock waves of pure force. Effect: 130% attack power. Purification. Remove any type of debuff on the target caused by magic. Water prison. The beast unleashes the skill to bind, imprison, and/or otherwise stop objects' beings by surrounding them with huge volumes of water. Effect: those who are trapped inside the prison will have their ether energy slowly absorbed by the beast. Well, not as great as I imagined, thought Mark in disappointment as he stared at the holographic screen floating before his eyes. He expected great abilities from Tishanan as it mutated into an ancient-grade beast. If one considers the relation between each grade, then, at present, this kitten should have the strength to defeat a seven-circle beast king like Cerberus or the Anaconda. However, its stats and skills state something else entirely. If in the humanoid state, the beast has 4.6 points of intelligence, which is its highest stat, then, after transforming back into its original form, in the best-case scenario, it would be around 5.5 or 5.6. It means that Tishanan can at most defeats go against an elementary stage Exalt Realm beast, low 7 circle. Forget about beast kings and emperors, and that is just in theory. In reality, the battle experience should also be considered. Anyways, all of these worries can be shut down once it makes another breakthrough. Thinking that way, Mark calmed down his emotions and focused on the curious-looking boy instead of the stats. Woo woo, Tishanan started making sounds like a baby, addressing everyone. Mark and Lan Ju understood what it was trying to say. He walked forward and patted the head of the naked boy with a smile. Since you have attained the humanoid transformation, I think it is more appropriate to give you a human name. After me, Alan, and Elena, you will be the third one to join our family. As the fourth-born child, your name will be Anand Spencer. None knew. The golden-haired boy somehow managed to speak of his name, earning applause from Song Yue. Woohoo! Congratulations Tishanan, I mean Anand, you spoke your first word. Mark glanced at his fiancée, who appeared to be too happy. He was disappointed earlier for the beast betraying his expectations, but upon seeing a hearty laugh from Song Yue, his negative feelings were slowly washed away from his heart. He placed his attention back on the boy. Just as he was about to congratulate Anand, all of a sudden, the water nearby the beach moved back at a rapid pace. The attention of Lan Ju was quickly drawn to it. Lu Zhen, called Lan Ju, raising his voice. Mark turned his head to look at the Zheng. Lan Ju then pointed at the ocean. Look, the water is going back. I don't feel good about this. Song Yue heard it and looked in that direction before letting out a gasp. My goodness. Marky, it is the signs of a tsunami. It looks that way, replied Mark with a serious look. However, he felt something was strange as things don't add up. He stared at the retreating waters of the ocean for a while. What should we do now? Song Yue became worried, although not because of the upcoming disaster. After staying in this peaceful place for 10 days without leaving Mark's side except during the night's sleep, she became a little bit attached to the house they lived in and the beaches they take long walks daily. We need to leave. Meanwhile, scarlet words appeared in the air as Song Yun wrote them through his ether energy. As he didn't think that it would be a crisis with so many powerful beasts around, he didn't need the feel to get out of the Black Knight character yet. Fortunately for him, Lan Ju was standing in the opposite direction. Hence, the words were seen and the Zheng quickly responded, No need to worry, Mr. Black Knight. I can conjure up a barrier to defend the whole island against the natural disaster. No, Lan Ju, this isn't a natural disaster. This is created by someone or something, said Mark after analyzing the situation in his head. Everyone was startled by his claims and looked at him. Mark then turned around and explained, Water is sure going back, but none of the beasts or the small birds and animals living on this island got an inkling of a natural disaster beforehand. He then pointed at the ground. Tsunamis are created by earthquakes inside the ocean. If we look at the rate of water retraction, the magnitude of the earthquake must be at least over 9. That means we will be able to feel the tremors on the island. Other warnings include a loud roar from the ocean and the strange behavior of the aquatic beasts, but none of this happened until now. Everything indicates that it is either an unintentional attack of a sea beast or a deliberate ambush from an enemy of the mage spirit path. Whatever the case, the enemy doesn't appear to be weak. After concluding the nature of the tsunami, Mark didn't bother to wait for the reactions from the listeners and directly passed the orders. Song Yue and Anand will go back to the house. The both of you will stay inside while Baltro and Mr. Black Knight will guard the house. Lan Ju and I will take care of the rest. Understood. With Mark making a serious expression and speaking in a commanding tone, everyone couldn't help but just nod in response and follow his orders. Anand also transformed back into the kitten, which was slightly bigger compared to before, although not fully grown. Before leaving, Song Yue gave a tight hug to her fiancé. "Marky, be careful." "I will be," replied Mark and hugged back. They retreated back to the house that is located hundreds of meters away from the shore, and Song Yun conjured an ether energy barrier over the house just in case. Baltro stood beside him to guard the house after receiving the telepathic message from its master. Roughly after 15 minutes, a tsunami of 480 meters in height that is stretching for only 10 kilometers had appeared in front of Mark, proving his theory. Chapter 336.1 The Trial of the Holy Beasts, Part 1. A gigantic wave was approaching the island at a speed of about 150 km/h. Lan Ju and Mark were waiting at the beach to face it. Soon it struck both of them and then washed away everything on the island that is on its path. Thousands of small fishes and other aquatic beasts crashed onto the island. Lan Ju was not only unharmed, but also didn't move an inch from the spot. As for Mark, who wore the exo suit in order not to waste his defensive skills and ether energy, he was pushed away at least for 100 meters before the water retreated to the ocean. He was, of course, unharmed. However, his attention was on the house with the barrier as it was also hit by the wave. Seeing that there were only cracks in the barrier, Mark let out a sigh of relief and rose to his feet. Meanwhile, Lan Ju's focus was on the ocean. His senses were at their peak, but couldn't sense the enemy no matter how far or how deep he searched. Is there a demigod trying to play hide and seek with us, or was Lu Zhen just mistaken? The Zhang wondered as he cannot sense any other presence. It was at that moment a heavy sigh was heard in the surroundings, making the demigod realm beast emperor jump on his feet in an alert. "Who is it?" Lan Ju asked in a loud tone. A reply came in the form of 2 words, "Truly disappointing." The voice was quite deep and quite commanding to the Zhang, increasing his curiosity. Lan Ju looked around and tried his best to locate the enemy, but to no avail. He couldn't help but wonder out aloud. Did the enemy master the art of invisibility or something? The voice responded once again, this time with a bigger sentence. "Feline creature, you are too noisy. Stay silent for a while and let me concentrate on the guy with the weird costume." As soon as his words ended, 4 large turtles were summoned around Lan Ju, with each one releasing an energy chain. These chains bound Lan Ju and completely restricted his movements. Lan Ju resisted for a couple of seconds and then became silent, although, for some reason, he didn't transform into a beast to free himself. Meanwhile, Mark halted his footsteps in shock. After all, the Zhang is his greatest backing. Anything that can capture him is something that is too powerful, and running away is a terrible idea. He understood that very well. Now, this situation leaves him with only one choice. He would have to raise the upper limit of his skill prowess. In the present situation, all the damages of his skills were capped at 10.9 points of stat, which might or might not be enough if this unknown enemy was prepared. Luckily, the stat pills were also in his storage ring. However, this also had a problem. Even after he raises his cultivation level, his ether points will still be at around 1 million. It means that he might have to depend only on the skills that consume a fixed percentage of ether energy rather than a numerical amount. So bloodline skills like absolute freezing, blizzard wings, and summoning his beasts might be out of the question. But then again, with Baltro and Lan Ju on his side, he never had to depend on his summons either. Hence, there wasn't much to lose. Before he proceeded, he just needed to be sure that what he was going to do is worth the trouble. Judging by the tone of the invisible stranger, it appeared more like he wasn't that hostile. Should he trust his instincts, or should he take the intelligence pill to be safe? Just as Mark was contemplating on whether to make a breakthrough to 7 Circle or talk it out with the ambusher, the voice was heard from the sky once again. Good, stay that way without making any trouble, feline creature. Now, the master of the Zheng, hear me out carefully. Before I reveal myself, you will have to prove your worthiness. You failed the earlier test, but I was willing to give you another chance. Of course, you weren't given any choice about this, so get prepared to face the trial. Trial? Mark's thoughts about the breakthrough were thrown into the back of his head as his attention was picked by the voice from the sky. Naturally, he wasn't pleased by the proposal either. Who are you? What do you want? He asked, trying his best to stay calm on the surface. Calmness is a good trait for any kind of spirit warrior, but having pride should be in respect with one's strength. After all, excessive pride will only lead to a downfall in the end. Let's see if your pride is in the same equation as your strength, or if it is excessive. An odd reply came from the sky before a golden portal appeared before Mark and engulfed him. After Mark disappeared from sight, Lan Ju took a deep breath and asked, "Why are you doing this? For what reason do you want to test Lu Zhen?" "Oh, now that's unexpected," the voice exclaimed in surprise. It further commented, "It appears that you have discovered my identity." Lan Ju nodded firmly and then spoke in a polite manner despite his hands and legs being tied up by energy chains. "Yes, those spirit-suppressing turtles gave away your identity. It is also the reason why I no longer wanted to resist, Lord Yuqiang." Once Lan Ju spoke those words, the turtles disappeared and he was freed. Followed by that, an old man with an ordinary-looking face made his appearance. One cannot be fooled by his average build and the peaceful vibes of a civilian he was giving at first glance. Lan Ju knew how dangerous this fellow is. Hence, he fell on his knees and kowtowed to greet the stranger. In response to the greeting, the old man chuckled and made a comment on the appearance of the Zheng. "You rejected the human civilization for 3 decades without bothering to integrate into their society, and yet you like to stay and behave like them in the end." Lord Yuqiang's comment was only met with Lan Ju's silence. Seeing this, Yuqiang lost interest to converse about other matters and proceeded to speak of his real intentions, taking the Zheng by surprise. Meanwhile, Mark was transported to a place where he can only see a stairway to some kind of door in the end. Everything else was blocked. At first, he was angry at this mysterious being for transporting him to this place without his consent, but then as he calmed down himself, Mark realized that the enemy isn't hostile and wanted to test him for something. With the Zheng being captured too easily, he became worried about Song Yue's safety. After all, none of those will be able to protect her. Adding on top of this, the system is offline. Hence, he first needed to control his emotions and get out of this situation by following the rules set by the enemy. Mark proceeded to go through this trial by stepping on the first step without knowing what kind of test he was going to face. Quickly, his surroundings changed once again. The place looks like a cave of an ether mine. Thousands of ether ores could be seen protruding from the walls. However, none of that mattered as there is a giant creature waiting for him. Chapter 337.2 The Trial of the Holy Beasts, Part 2. Mark activated his sage eyes without wasting any time in inspecting the details of the monster with the body of an ox, 4 horns with 2 protruding from the forehead, and the remaining 2 protruding from the back of its head, human eyes and pig ears. Honk! Looking at its prey, the beast let out a sound that is similar to a goose, although it was a bit too loud for a human. Mark was forced to close his ears for a second while staring at its details. Zhuhua. Species hybrid. Rank 7 advanced. Grade Beast King. Type balanced. Description: a monster from the Undying Lands. Just a 7-circle monster, huh? Mark felt more relieved upon seeing that his opponent is someone he can defeat without relying on external assistance. However, the problem here is that he doesn't have much experience in close combat. And the more time he spends here, the more worried he might get regarding the safety of his fiancée, as he couldn't trust this invisible enemy to not keep them hostage. Then should he summon the missile defense system and bombard the opponent with missiles? This way, he could save ether energy. But is there a need to save it? With the ether regeneration passive skill, he can recover his ether energy at the rate of 1% every 1.7 seconds. That's only 3 minutes to recover all of his consumed ether points. As Mark was contemplating on whether he should go for the quick route or use this opportunity to test his own power, the beast charged at the intruder like a bull. Its horns were glowing in scarlet energy, aiming to kill him in one shot. Seeing that, Mark quickly activated the suit's flight ability and flew higher to dodge the incoming attack, followed by taking out a sniper battle rifle and pouring about 500,000 ether particles into it, tilde 49% ether energy. As Mark then proceeded to set the power to 3 using the dial switch placed above the trigger, the beast put a brake on its legs and turned around. It raised its head to look at the enemy flying without any wings. Honk! Letting out a snort, the beast unleashed a skill. Energy started to condense at the tips of its front horns. Mark raised the rifle and aimed at the beast. With enhanced vision, Mark didn't bother to use the scope and directly clicked on the trigger. Swoosh! A rank 3 energy bullet was released from the rifle and cut through the air like lightning and perfectly piercing the beast's right eye. Greya! The beast roared in anger as the blood oozed from its eye. Maybe it is because it isn't real, or maybe it is because Lord Yukian created it that way. Whatever the case, it wasn't showing any signs of feeling pain or trying to heal its eye injury. Instead, it resumed gathering the energy at its horns to complete the technique. So it is a dumb one, eh? Mark's confidence increased by its move and he clicked the trigger once again, aiming at its other eye. The beast couldn't complete its technique, and it lost its vision, although it doesn't pose any problem for Zhuhui, as the beast kings don't need the vision to sense the enemy. Its smelling capability is more than enough to locate its prey. A giant energy ball was thrown at Mark, who in turn faced it head-on and took the blow directly to test the suit's defense. Of course, the beast's 7-circle realm cultivation is the primary reason for him to take such a step. As for its grade, according to the manuscript of legendary beast tamer Zai Chen, which he received from his sister on the engagement ceremony day, the difference in the grade of beasts lies in their respective skill set. If a king grade defense appeared to be a lot stronger than the fierce grade beast of the same realm, it's because of the passive skill of the former. But at the same time, battle type also plays a major role here. For example, if a king grade beast is a defensive type, then its normal defense and active defensive skill prowess might be far higher than a fierce grade beast of the same realm. In such a case, their attacking prowess remains the same. And if both are offensive types, then their defensive prowess remains the same. As for the balanced type, the difference will be seen both in offense and defense, but it won't be much higher when compared to the other two types. Anyways, back to the present, Mark knew that an offensive-type beast king of the 7-circle realm, advanced stage, cannot unleash an attack on a supreme realm. Hence, he was confident about taking it head-on. And just like he expected, as the energy ball struck his suit, it dissipated right away without even pushing him away lightly, much less hurting him. So, it doesn't have pain receptors but still can sense my presence, Mark observed the beast from the air as it was conjuring another energy ball. Either through the smell or through sensing of a life. That means I haven't done any proper damage. It was then a sudden thought came to his mind and his facial expression hardened. SHT, Song Yue was still out there. I cannot waste the time. Mark suddenly realized that he doesn't have the time to toy with the opponent or test his suit. Not to mention, this might not be the only opponent he will face in the trial. Mark slowly landed on the ground. As the beast turned his head to change its aim, he mumbled, "Gravity Dome, activate." However, nothing happened. "Ah, right, I forgot." Mark remembered that he doesn't have the system running in the background to automatically unleash the skill through voice activation. Since he never mastered the skills in a traditional way like the other spirit warriors, Mark had to depend on manual activation, except for the bloodline skills. He opened the skills interface, which is still working despite the system's offline status. He clicked on the gravity dome under the active skills section. And as the system is offline, there was no prompt message received by him, and it directly activated right away, unleashing an invisible dome in a 100-meter radius. Once the skill is launched, Mark's consciousness was connected with the dome, and he could sense the unfamiliar yet familiar particles filled all around the place, possibly the gravitons. It was a strange feeling. Mark somehow felt like he was looking at ether particles inside his body with an ability to control them. While he was experiencing a new feeling, the beast completed its energy ball and threw it at him once again. The result was the same as earlier. Mark was struck by the attack without receiving any damage, but it surely helped him to return to reality. Meanwhile, the beast felt frustrated and it unleashed another skill, increasing its size by several folds. Placing his attention on the opponent, Mark then raised his free left arm. "Good that you have increased your size and weight. Now, I'll help you increase it even further. Gravity at maximum." In an instant, an enormous pressure descended onto the beast, increasing its weight by 40 times the original as the gravitational force was increased within the dome. The beast collapsed onto the ground, unable to bear it, and Mark calmly walked toward it. Chapter 338.3 The Trial of the Holy Beasts Part 3 Honk honk honk. The beast named Zhuhui was struggling to move, but to no avail under the effects of the 40G environment, and Mark reached it before he took a leap and landed right before its face. The beast struggled to open its mouth and snap him into two halves with its sharp teeth, but it couldn't move an inch from the spot. Raising his foot and stomping on its mouth that's as big as a fully grown pumpkin, Mark changed the power from 3 to max 8 and pierced one of its injured eyes through the sniper's barrel. "If I do like this, then, your tough skin will not come in the way. Time to disappear." Mark proceeded to click on the trigger with a murderous gaze on his face. The remaining amount of the ether energy that he poured into the sniper rifle was consumed, and a rank 5 energy bullet escaped from the rifle's barrel, piercing through everything and destroying the brain in the end. The beast's eyes turned lifeless in one shot and disappeared instantly, leaving behind the rifle with blood on its barrel. And in the next second, a white portal appeared a few feet away, clearly inviting him to step inside and get out of this place. However, Mark didn't readily do that. Instead, he walked to a wall and punched the ore a couple of times to break apart a chunk of it. As a spirit warrior with 4.5 points of strength, it isn't that difficult to accomplish such a feat. Taking the ether ore into his hands, Mark tried to absorb the ether energy to see whether it is fake or true. Unfortunately for him, while the ether ore turned white and the energy absorbed into his body, it only replenished it, not increased the ether points. Mark lost interest right away. "I'm a fool to even expect something good comes out of misery." He threw away the white ore and walked into the portal, returning to the stairway. All of the steps were white like earlier except for the bottom step, the one he was standing on. It turned black. I see. So this is like a dungeon with various levels. Mark wondered as he proceeded to climb onto the next step. Just like earlier, it glowed before transporting Mark to a similar kind of place. It almost looked like the same cave with ether ores protruding from the walls and ceiling all over, but the place is a lot bigger, and there were two monsters this time. Both the blue-furred hounds were beast kings of the seven-circle realm. Gravity Dome. He unleashed the same skill that doesn't have any cooldown, making the two hounds grovel on the ground due to the immense pressure. Assuming that there are still more battles to go, Mark decided not to explore the powers of his suit or his strength. Instead, he opted for the easiest route to clear this difficulty. Lightning Clone. He summoned the super-powerful lightning clone that has the stats of a Supreme Realm expert and ordered it to finish the hounds. The lightning clone charged forward. It only took one powerful kick from the lightning clone to kill each monster. As a result, the battle was over in a couple of seconds, and Mark returned to the stairway without bothering to place attention on the ether ores. With the ether regeneration, he can recover his ether points within a couple of minutes anyway, so there's no need to depend on them. Anyways, with an aim to complete this so-called trial in hurry, he didn't take much rest and stepped onto the third step. The location was again similar to the previous one, although increasing the cavern size. And this time, the opponents are giant spiders that are as big as an average adult male. They were 4 in number and all of them had the ability to spew poisonous venom. But in front of the gravity dome and lightning clone combo, none of those beasts stood a chance as Mark took the initiative to start the battle. It lasted only a few seconds and Mark proceeded to the next step. On the 4th level, the difficulty increased along with the change of location. Mark found himself in the middle of a forest covered by snow, and a giant ice ape was seen jumping from one branch of a tree to another. He activated the Sage Eyes ability and observed the ice ape. Okay, now, it is an 8-circle realm beast king, eh? Mark didn't pay much attention to the monster that has no chance of facing against his powerful combo attack. The ice ape was fallen only in a few seconds, and in this level, along with the portal, something new, although with similar power, made an appearance as soon as the beast disappeared. It resembled largely like an energy ball floating in the air. When Mark inspected it, he lost interest right away. Beast Spark. Grade NA. Description: contains the extracted core energy of a beast, used for replenishing one's ether energy based on the quality. Forget it, I don't have the time to spend time on refining it. I would rather waste the time by taking a short break. Mark walked past the free reward and stepped into the portal. After returning to the stairway, he continued his trial right away, as there is enough ether energy left to use. On the 5th level, Mark faced 2 ice bison, which of course didn't last even 10 seconds in battle. On the 6th level, the opponents were 4 yetis. Just like before, once again the battlefield changed. This time, it was on an island surrounded by endless lava, which is as hot as over 2,000 degrees Celsius. On the 7th level, a bull that breathes flames turned out to be the opponent. It was a 9-circle beast king that managed to defend quite a few punches and kicks before finally getting killed. And on the 8th level, 2 giant fire golems became the opponents that drew their energy from the lava lake around the island. The lightning clone faced great difficulty to defeat them. By the time this level was cleared, Mark was left with only a little over 22k of ether points, which would be enough for just 2 seconds of the clone. Hence, he decided to take the beast sparks left behind by the golems and replenished his ether energy. Thankfully, the process didn't take much longer. Within minutes, he was ready to face the next challenge. Mark's confidence in his combo attack was at his peak, and he wasn't that bothered or looking forward to battling the opponent. For him, this trial became a walk in the park. Little did he expect that the opponent on the 9th level won't be 4 9-circle realm beast kings, but a single opponent of Emperor grade. Being Grade Emperor. Rank 9 peak stay. The tiger with dragon scales and wings let out a mighty roar, launching an attack as soon as it spotted the intruder. Mark couldn't even properly see its details or observe the surroundings, and was forced to defend himself against its attack. Within a fraction of a second, it covered the distance between them and slashed at his chest with its claws. As he blocked the attack by crossing his arms to the chest in reflex, Bean's claws tore through the suit and scratched his wrist. Arg! Mark let out a painful scream and quickly backed away while unleashing the gravity dome. Chapter 339.4 The Trial of the Holy Beasts Part 4. Like in the earlier levels, the invisible dome with 100 times the gravitational pressure had made its appearance to trap the Beast Emperor. However, it didn't appear to be that effective against this opponent when compared to the previous one. Bien managed to resist the pressure and kept moving forward, albeit at a slow pace. As for the location, it appeared to be plain grassland surrounded by a forest. Why is there such a setting? Neither Mark cares nor will anyone explain it to him, so it is mysterious for the time being. Anyways, back to the battle. After leaping back and landing on the ground, Mark summoned his lightning clone once again to deal with the opponent. However, this time, the lightning clone couldn't gain any advantage against the dragon tiger. Perhaps, if it was an android like Elena and Alan, it would have been different. Alas, the lightning clone was just a skill and all of its attacks were pretty much straightforward. The lightning clone charged forward and threw a punch at its target. Due to the slow movements, Bien got hit by the punch, but its defense appeared to be quite stronger, and it barely bruises one of its dragon scales. Grrr. Bien growled in anger and opened its mouth to breathe out powerful flames, burning the clone, and the cracks started forming all over its body. As the clone cannot receive any pain either, it didn't care about the state of its body and proceeded to attack the dragon tiger at a close range. It went for the neck where the dragon's scales weren't present. Bien was in the middle of trying to turn its enemy into ash and it, unfortunately, didn't have the time to dodge the attack. If anything, it increased the intensity of the dragon fire so that the enemy will die before it gets injured. The lightning clone's hand pierced through the Beast Emperor's neck. Scraya. Bien's flames were stopped and the blood started to trickle down its neck, earning a satisfactory nod from Mark. However, in the next second, the beast let out a sonic scream to push the clone away before proceeding to heal itself. Even Mark was also affected by it, but thanks to his suit's resistance capabilities, 9 resist stat, he managed to defend against it just by tightly closing his ears and moving away. Meanwhile, the lightning clone used friction between its feet and the ground to not get pushed for more than a few meters. It quickly charged forward and attacked the dragon tiger that was still in the middle of healing. Like the previous battles, Mark watched it as a spectator for more than a minute until his ether energy was down by more than 2/3, and the clone was at a complete advantage. However, at the same time, it was also on the verge of getting destroyed with its body full of cracks from head to toe. Upon remembering the cooldown period of 12 hours in case it destructs, Mark wondered whether he should intervene or not. What do I do? Surely this monster isn't going to be the last one I have to face, and who knows how strong the next is going to be. I will have to depend on the lightning clone for now. But it was also winning. Shouldn't it be better if I let it continue to fight? I still have a lot of ether energy left to use. After much contemplation, he decided to wait as Bien's natural healing powers weren't able to catch up with the rate of injuries inflicted upon its body. 10 more seconds later, the clone ducked its claws and slid on the ground, reaching below its body before giving a powerful punch to its inner side. Its ribs were cracked. The beast's body flew up in the air for a few meters before the gravitational force dragged it down. Thud! It fell on the ground heavily, and that collision broke its ribs completely. As Bien motionlessly lay on the ground for a few seconds, the lightning clone tried to take advantage of it and raised his hand. It started to vibrate very fast and didn't miss Mark's enhanced vision either. What is that blurring? He wondered out loud in surprise. This was the first time he saw the clone use something like this, but unfortunately for him, at the moment, the system isn't online to give him the answers he needs. Whatever the case, I will just watch for now. Answers can be found later on. Mark put aside his curiosity and continued to be a spectator. With a vibrating hand, the lightning clone proceeded to place it on the beast's neck to slice its head completely and effectively end its life. It was at that moment that Bien slightly raised its head with a serious look on its face. Suddenly, Its expression changed as its mouth widened. What though Mark took a step back in surprise? Is it smiling? So far in this trial, he saw nothing but anger from the beasts. It is the first time he saw a beast smiling, and that smile was quite similar to the one he often finds on Tishanan before he acted like he was sick and doesn't want to drink milk. In that instant, Mark felt like the beast was trying act to set a trap for the clone. He wanted to warn the clone and order it to move away, but there wasn't enough time to do that. Before he could even send his thoughts to the clone through their telepathic connection, the beast had already made it move. As the clone's vibrating hand reached the edge of its neck, Bian's body turned into some kind of green smoke that enveloped its target. Soon, the clone was trapped by a ball filled with a gaseous substance. Mark didn't even get enough time to react to the situation, and everything just gets destroyed with the release of nearly 1 billion joules of energy. "The fuck?" he screams out loud and hurried to unleash the exo-suit's nullification. But before he even tries it, the energy just passes through his body and proceeds to destroy the surroundings. Mark was left completely unharmed, and this led him to an assumption that this energy was actually released by the lightning clone, which he was immune to the damage. Staring at the beast's spark that was left behind by Bian, Mark mumbled, "I guess it did something to the clone and kill it, eventually leading to its energy release. But that smile on its face was quite weird. Either there is something that I have yet to understand or the creator was just a strange fellow. Whatever the case, I need to get out of here fast." Mark proceeded to walk forward and absorb the energy from the beast's spark. In half a minute, he recovered all of his ether energy and went on to step inside the portal, returning to the stairway. However, this time, he didn't step on the next one right away. He observed the stairway for a while, falling into deep thoughts once again. There are 6 steps to the door, so that means 6 levels. Judging by the battles so far, the next one would be 2 9-circle realm beast emperors. Just one was enough trouble, and now there will be 2. Moreover, I need to face them without my lightning clone. How should I proceed now? Chapter 340.5 The Trial of the Holy Beasts, Part 5. After much deliberation, Mark came to a decision that is going to alter the course of his grand revenge plan very soon. He took out a bunch of black-colored pills that resembled fish oil capsules and swallowed them one after another without any hesitation. While there were no notifications from the system because it was offline at the moment, it didn't stop Mark's stats to rise according to the stat pill. All in all, he took 5 strength pills advanced grade, 3 intelligent pills intermediate grade, 1 defense pill advanced grade, 3 agility pills advanced grade, 3 vitality pills advanced grade, and 3 resistant pills advanced grade. These pills took all of his stats to cross 9 points, effectively making him a supreme being, although without proper ether energy to match his stats. Due to the requirement of a high number of ether points, the absolute freezing skill became unavailable to use. Because of the system's offline status, the new summoning beasts weren't added to the list either. After all, a summoner, in general, would use a summoning spell to summon a beast from other planes and form a soul contract through ritual. However, it was different for Mark. The system stores the beasts and unlocks them when its host reaches a required rank. In a way, it is like the system is giving him a free gift for breaking through to the upper realms. Fortunately, this wouldn't disappoint Mark as he doesn't have many ether points to summon them anyway. With his 1 million EP, the most he could do is summon a 6-circle realm beast for 1 minute. And since the lightning clone skill's cooldown timer has been reset with these multiple breakthroughs, Mark's mood also recovered a bit, and he felt ready to go to the next level. As he climbed the next step, the location changed once again. This time, he was on a small islet located in the middle of an endless ocean. There wasn't much space to move around, but thankfully, the exosuit can handle even the deepest parts of the ocean without a worry. Hence, he wasn't bothered by the place but focused on the surroundings to spot the enemy that appeared to be hiding underwater. As the suit's enhanced vision only zooms into the object or makes things appear slower for a clear view, it didn't help him much in locating the beast. Hence, He could only prepare himself for the incoming attack. As for summoning the lightning clone beforehand, he cannot do that either until the battle starts. After all, that skill would consume 1% of his ether energy per every second. So that leaves him with unleashing the other skill, which only consumes 1% per 40 seconds. With his ether regeneration passive skill, he could maintain it 24/7 without any problems. Then, why would he delay it and wait for the enemy? Mark decided to unleash the gravity dome and set it up beforehand. He opened the skill interface, and as soon as his eyes immediately fell on the other details of the upgraded skills, his face glowed up in joy. Man, every complex issue has been solved just like that. Now I can clear up this trial with ease. Passive skills. Ultimate defense I disabled. By default, the store is invincible under the heavens and cannot be damaged by anyone under the demigod realm. Ultimate defense II disabled. Within the store, the host cannot be harmed by anyone under the demigod realm. The host cannot also be dragged outside against his will. Sage Eyes allows the user to inspect any non-living thing or living thing and find their details. The Devil's Hand disabled. Dismantle any object that you can touch and exchange in equivalent credits, and in case the object has an owner bound to one's soul, then you get 50% of equivalent credits as long as it is below mithril grade, i.e. semi-divine and below. Enhanced durability, level 1. Increase the user's body durability to receive less incoming damage of all types except for mental attacks. Effect, 1% Doctor. Limit, opponents who are no greater than 2 ranks realms above the user. Ether regeneration. Increase the ether recovery rate by 100 times. Effect, 1% recovery per every 0.7 seconds. No touch deactivated. Upon activation, the user's body will be untouchable physically. Nothing in the world except for the items owned by the user and energy can touch the user. Active skills. Thunderblast LV7. Summon a lightning bolt from the heavens to strike down the enemy with 150% attack power max 10.9. Cost 50% ether. CD 15 min. Lightning Clone. Summon a lightning clone with stats equal to your maximum stats plus 1. Cost 1% ether second. CD none. Gravity Dome level 9. Creates an invisible dome around the user. Inside the dome, the user could control the gravity from 0.2 G to 200 G range, 1,000 meters. Cost, 1% ether energy per 120 seconds. CD, 0 seconds. Bloodline skills. Absolute freezing. Freeze your surroundings for 1800 seconds. Those who were frozen will face a temperature under minus 220 degrees Celsius. Range, 3000 m. Cost, 100 million EP. CD, 60 min. Ice Bolt. Conjure any number of ice spears with your ether energy at any time to launch them at your enemies with 120% power. Anything that gets pierced will be frozen. Cost, 20% ether. CD, 0 sec. Range, 3000 m. Blizzard Wings. Create a pair of indestructible icy wings, which can be used to fly, block incoming attacks, or attack enemies with a blizzard. Flying, 10 EP of consumption every second. Block up to 150% defense stat points max, 12.5. Cannot fly or attack. The back will also be vulnerable. No ether consumption, and no external items can augment this feature, original defense points. Attack, generate a blizzard for 10 seconds with the power of 100% intelligence stat points. Cost, 10 million EP. CD, 30 sec. Range, 3000 meters. The host is immune to the reduction of visibility due to the blizzard. Freezing Gaze. Freeze any kind of matter just by looking at it and locking the target. Those without bloodline skills, divine weapons, and less cultivation level than the user's intelligence stat points will not be able to escape. The frozen people face a temperature of minus 220 degrees Celsius. Cost, 1 billion EP. CD, none. Range, 3000 meters. Without thinking much, Mark clicked on Gravity Dome, unleashing the skill. An invisible dome was released into the surroundings, instantly. Cool. Mark let out a pleasant smile as he started sensing the graviton particles even far as 1 kilometer away, when it was only 100 meters a while ago. Now for the next safety measurement. The torn part of the suit around his wrist reminded him to be careful of physical damage from close combat. Hence, he toggled on the no-touch passive skill he bought a while ago. With the skill staying activated, apart from the things he owned, no object or living thing in the world could touch him. As for how it decides what he owns, usually, it was the system that decides. With the system going offline, Mark didn't know its overall limits, but with the experiments he conducted during the past 10 days, he concluded that the skill would at least push away the people, and doesn't resist the ether weapons bound to his soul. That much is satisfactory enough for Mark to depend on this passive skill of his. Once he was done with setting up the defenses, he was finally relaxed and read the description of the skills once again to formulate a plan against the future enemies. Let's see. My body can regenerate all of the ether energy within 70 seconds. That means I can continuously keep the lightning clone with me without worrying about consumption. Maybe, if I can cover it up with armor like Song Yun, I can also use him as a bodyguard. Thunderblast's skill was a bit of a disappointment, but it is expected anyway. After all, it depends on intelligent stat points. While I might have them over 9 like the rest of the stats, the original int stat was still only at 7.6. Anyway, against beast emperors of the 9-circle realm, the skill will be more than enough to turn one of them into ash, even if they turned out to be a defensive type. But then again, I won't have to depend on the rest of the skills with the lightning clone to do the job for me. As for defense against the ranged attacks, I would have to unequip this suit and depend on the wings. They will protect me as long as I don't let them attack me from behind. While keeping his eyes on the surroundings in wariness of a sudden ambush, Mark proceeded to summon the lightning clone and then went on to take off the suit, followed by unleashing the blizzard wings. Okay, now I'm ready. Only the enemies are left to appear, mumbled Mark as he spread his wings widely. He waited for half a minute in patience before bubbles appeared on the surface of the water, just 100 meters away, and 9 giant snake heads rose from the water. Surprisingly, there was only one 9-circle beast as an enemy, but this one isn't a beast emperor. When Mark inspected its details through his sage eyes, his expression changed right away upon finding that it is a beast that could be said to be on par or stronger than even Lan Ju at his peak strength. Xiang Liu. Grade Ancient. Rank 9-circle. Description: Xiang Liu, a monster with 9 snake heads, was once the underling of the water god. Who the fuck is the creator of this trial? Mark couldn't help but curse it out loud in anger while staring at the giant squid. Chapter 341.6 The Trial of the Holy Beasts, Part 6. As the ancient grade beast Xiang Liu rose from the ocean, an enraged Mark didn't give it any chance to even launch an attack, and proceeded to unleash his most reliable skill, Thunderblast. In just an instant, a scarlet-colored lightning bolt descended from the false sky and struck one of the snake heads of Xiang Liu. The lightning bolt then tore through the snake's head and went on striking the neck before destroying its core and killing it with one move. No battle occurred here. It is just one-sided annihilation. Very soon, as the corpse of the beast slowly drowned in the ocean and disappeared, a floating beast spark appeared in Mark's sight, but he ignored it and walked through the portal after dismissing the clone. Upon returning to the stairway, he stared at the remaining steps and mumbled in seriousness, 5 to go. But before that, let's see my whole stats to formulate a proper plan against future opponents. There are still 5 levels to go, and surely, each one will be a lot stronger than the previous one. Hence, I would need to take notes of the cooldown timers more than anything. Open Character Interface. The skills might not be activated by the voice recognition due to the system's offline status, but somehow, just like the skill interface, he could open his character interface just by speaking out loud. This feature became available after the system upgraded to level 3. Once the system upgrades to level 6, who knows what other offline functions it will unlock. Anyways, back to the current situation. While Mark was recovering his spent ether energy, he observed the details of the stats and skills once again. Name: Lu Zhen Mark Spencer. Rank 9. Strength 9.5. Intelligence 7.6 plus 25%. Defense 9.8. Agility 9.6. Vitality 9.1. Resistance 9.1. Charisma 9. Luck 2 plus 5. Bloodline Blizzard Pegasus. Attribute Lightning Ice and Space locked. Spirit Path Summoner. Ether Quality High. Ether Energy 1,035,630 EP. Special Skills: Ultimate Defense I, Ultimate Defense II, Thunderblast, Lightning Clone, Seal Breaker, The Devil's Hand, Gravity Dome, Ether Regeneration, No Touch and Enhanced Durability. Bloodline Skills: Absolute Freezing, Ice Bolt, Blizzard Wings, Freezing Gaze. Assistants: 2 Alan Spencer, Elena Spencer. Store Branches N.A. Lifespan Limit 585, 560 years left. Available Credits N.A. Available Credit Limit N.A. Net Worth N.A. Total Debt N.A. Credit Debt N.A. Don't want to be too happy in this situation, but it is just too unbelievable that I just upgraded my rank 3 times directly. Mark was kinda overwhelmed for a moment by the stats as he looked at his stats, and he couldn't just stop smiling. Compared to the last time, there was a big boost in every stat. Not that low ether energy will not allow him to reach his full potential, but with the powerful skills he had in his arsenal, Mark thought that low ether energy might not pose any problem even if he faces his mother in a battle. After calculating how strong each skill is going to be, he created a strategy on what skill he should use at what level. Okay, my ether energy is full, let's do this. Taking a deep breath, he climbed the next step to enter the 11th level of the trial. Previously, it was an island in the middle of the ocean, and now it was a floating island in the sky with clouds passing around. Mark neither looked at the enemy, nor did he pay attention to the surroundings. He directly went on unleashing the combo, i.e. the lightning clone and the gravity dome, and only then he observed the surroundings. Like the last time, the beast didn't make its appearance for at least 30 seconds, and when it did, it surprisingly appeared with a coating of scarlet barrier around it. Mark looked at the beast. It was a 2-horned tiger with giant bat-like wings. Its body was protected by red scale armor, and there is a red mark on its forehead. He inspected the details. Qiangqi. Grade Emperor. Rank 10 Circle Intermediate. Description: a native demonic beast of the Undying Lands and the master of Bang Mountains. Sure enough, the evil creator of this trial didn't betray my expectations. Mark looked at the beast with a cold gaze. He clicked on the second bloodline skill, Ice Bolt, and conjured 1 ice spear. Grabbing an ice spear in his right arm, Mark ordered the lightning clone to guard while he closed his eyes. He concentrated on the graviton particles spread around his 1 km radius in the invisible dome. He motioned his left arm and clenched his fist, 200 G. In an instant, all the graviton particles started splitting into numerous numbers, increasing the intensity of gravity 200 times within the dome. The demonic tiger instantly felt the gravitational force and crashed onto the floating island. A crater appeared at the spot of the collision. Let's go. Mark flapped his icy wings and flew forward at a low altitude. The lightning clone went past him and reached the demigod realm beast emperor, which was somehow resisting the enormous gravitational force with great difficulty. The clone threw a punch at the oval-shaped barrier surrounding the beast. A crack appeared on it while it lost its balance and fell on its butt. The lightning clone took advantage of the opportunity and threw a couple of consecutive high-speed punches to destroy the barrier. Just as its punch was about to land on the beast emperor, the latter let out a powerful roar and pushed away the clone into the sky. By that time, Mark reached the crater and he saw the clone almost brush past him and blasted into the sky. Luckily, he didn't collide with it and sighed in relief. Okay, here we go. He threw the ice spear at the beast and conjured the second one as soon as it left his hand. Qiangqi glanced at the incoming attack and raised its paw. Sharp claws came out of it, and the beast swiped at the icy spear with great force. The icy spear collided with its claws that have been empowered by the flames. Luckily for Mark, the beast was only at the intermediate stage of the demigod realm, and its attack barely reached the immortal realm. And on the other hand, the icy spear has the power of an immortal realm expert, 11, Forint. Its claws couldn't match the might of the icy spear. While its flames did melt a part of the spear, the sharp, pointy front had pierced its paw. Its paw was wounded, and blood started flowing out before it was frozen by the aftereffect of the icy spear. The beast hurriedly breathed out the flames and tried to melt down the ice. Mark took advantage of this moment and threw another icy spear. The second icy spear cut through the air like lightning and pierced its forehead, followed by freezing it under minus 220 degrees Celsius of temperature. The beast fell to the ground. The ice slowly spread on its face, but it just lay motionless on the ground. About 4 seconds later, it slowly turned into specks of lights, leaving behind a beast spark and letting Mark know that it was killed. As Mark let out a sigh of relief, the lightning clone was in a descent motion, and soon, it landed nearby the beast spark and turned its head to look at him as if it was waiting for the order. Useless, he muttered under his breath for not being able to utilize the strength of the clone properly, and dismissed it. After returning to the stairway and recovering his ether energy, he looked at the door that looks so near but is so far away. 4 to go. He climbed to the next step, entering the 12th level of the trial while expecting the opponents to be either 2 beast emperors of the demigod realm or an ancient-grade beast of the same realm. And it turned out exactly as he expected it to be. There were 2 demigod realm beast emperors, and each one appeared to be a lot stronger than the previous one too. However, Mark was too calm at the moment as he stood at the edge of a cliff and stared at the 2 flying blue dragons with golden scales here and there. Wying Dragon. Grade Emperor. Rank 10 Circle Peak. Description: a dragon that is banished from the heaven palace of the celestial realm. Once a pet of the Yellow Emperor, it roamed across the undying lands and died in the hands of a 3-legged golden crow. Too much unnecessary information. Let's finish it as fast as possible. Gravity Dome, Lightning Clone, Icy Spear. While the 2 dragons were forced to crash on the cliff because of the gravity dome, the lightning clone went after one and Mark threw an icy spear at the other one. Chapter 342.7, The Trial of the Holy Beasts, Part 7. Fujian Island. Amidst the corpses of thousands of fish and other aquatic creatures that washed up on the island, Lan Ju was busy talking about some serious matters with the stranger, who sent Mark to the trial without his consent. I have seen him up close. He is a lot more stubborn than an average human. Not to mention, the darkness in his heart is something he has yet to conquer, replied Lan Ju after hearing the stranger's plan. The Zheng was sure that it is going to be failed because of Mark's personality. Yuqiang didn't seem to agree with Lan Ju's opinion either. He said, I don't know him, but I'm well aware of a human's greed. I just need to compensate him with something after he finishes his trial. Tell me what he likes more, wealth or power. Lan Ju didn't know what this person has in mind, but he was sure that Mark will not be pleased about the trial. But anyway, there's not much he can do at the moment, for he lacks the strength and willpower to go against a god. In the end, he let out a sigh and said, Lord Yuqiang, he gave away a divine sword to his high-quality puppet to use. So, I doubt he will appreciate it no matter what kind of weapon you give him. As for skill books, his lightning bolt skill and his lightning clone are very powerful, not to mention his bloodline skills. Hence, in my opinion, he might be satisfied with either gold or ether crystals, or maybe celestial materials like adamantium and mithril, which are almost impossible to be found in this mortal realm. Yuqiang thought for a bit and nodded. All right, I got it. Once I confirm that he was able to reach the 11th step, I will take him to places with rare materials. There are actually a few on the ocean bed. Will he be able to go past the 10th level? Wondered Lan Ju as he glanced to his right. There was a scepter floating in midair, being enveloped by golden energy. Meanwhile, inside the scepter, Mark was currently fighting alongside the lightning clone against a giant white snake. Compared to all the previous monsters he faced, in the trial as well as in reality, this white snake is far bigger. Its tail was stretched for tens of kilometers long, and Mark was smaller than a flea in its eyes. As a result, the gravity dome wasn't helping that much. But thanks to the difference in height, it also became very tough for the white snake to kill Mark and his lightning clone as they were moving at their peak speed. SSSA. As the white snake breathes out flames on a large scale, the lightning clone dodged it by taking a leap and landing on its back while Mark controlled his wings to cover himself. The icy wings were perfectly able to block the flames, and the lightning clone started running on top of its body, making its way to the head. Within no time, the lightning clone reached its destination and proceeded to slide down. Meanwhile, Mark spread his wings wide and stared at the snake. "Open skill interface," he mumbled. Looking at the details of the skills, he thought, there's still 50 seconds left for the Thunderblast to use again. Man, I really should have bought a few active skills. But then again, who could have expected that I would one day face an immortal realm beast? Anyways, let's focus. As the clone reached its left eye to injure it for the 7th time during the past 12 minutes, Mark aided it by flapping his wings to soar into the sky to its height and threw an icy spear, which reduced his ether energy to as low as 10%. The white snake saw a tiny clone near its eye, and despite the fact that it went through similar experiences for 6 times, it didn't defend against the clone and focused on the more powerful Mark and his icy spear that contained the power of a peak-stage Immortal Realm expert. SSA. It breathes out the flames once again, which melted the incoming icy spear, and Mark had to defend himself by covering himself with the wings again. Naturally, as he stopped flapping the wings, he started to freefall amidst the flames and crashed onto the ground. A small crater formed and no injuries occurred to Mark, although it cannot be said the same for the beast. The white snake's left eye started to bleed as the lightning clone gave consecutive punches. However, as it acted pretty quickly, it healed its eye and shook off its head, throwing away the clone far away. The clone managed to land on its body, and meanwhile, Mark rose to his feet and backed away to recover his energy, just focusing on defending himself. Half a minute later, the white snake appeared to have finally caught the clone in its spell. As there were spiral rings appeared in its eyes, the clone was slowly turning into a statue. Within seconds, he turned into a complete statue, and the white snake slammed its gigantic head onto it. The statue was broken into pieces, releasing a huge amount of energy and turning her mouth into a bloody pulp. Damn it! Mark gritted his teeth in anger. Taking a deep breath, he proceeded to click on the skill. 12 seconds to go. Let's hope its sacrifice hasn't gone in vain. With the clone gone, the white snake's attention was firmly fixed on Mark. While recovering its mouth, it suddenly grew a pair of arms from its body that stretched toward him. Mark quickly crouched down and covered himself with his icy wings to protect himself from any possible ambush. He then started counting down the time. 8, 7, 6, 5. When he reached 5, the 2 arms reached him with the goal of poisoning him with a simple touch. However, due to the no-touch passive skill, it didn't go how the beast wanted it to go. As its cultivation realm and strength are significantly higher than Mark, the invisible force that escaped from his body made him fly in the reverse direction instead of pushing away its arms. In reflex, Mark spread his wings wildly and stopped in midair. He then glanced at the holographic screen floating in front of his eyes, and a smile escaped from him right away. Thunderblast activate. He clicked on the skill. The lightning bolt made its appearance for the 3rd time in this trial and struck its head precisely. This time, it was yellow in color. The white snake's head burst open, and the rest of the white snake's body fell down with a heavy thud. "Did I get it?" Mark wondered out loud. But in the next couple of seconds, his facial expression changed as instead of disappearing, flesh slowly started to form, and its head was about to reform into new, albeit at a slow pace. "Fuck, I might have missed hitting its core due to its leaning posture." Mark cursed out aloud in frustration. Taking a deep breath, he mumbled, "If I wait 5 more minutes, it would be healed anew. I need to act faster, but I don't have much ether energy left either. Should I wait and give it another try, or should I go for an upgrade?" In 3 seconds, Mark made his choice. He concentrated on his storage ring and took out a black-colored pill. Taking a glance at the fallen white snake and then at the pill, Mark mumbled, "Well, there's one more enemy to defeat anyway. If it is going to be a lot stronger than this white snake, then I might need more power from the lightning bolt with a shorter duration of cooldown timer." After a bit of hesitancy, he finally swallowed the advanced-grade intelligence pill, raising his original INT to 9.6, effectively turning the amulet of magic into a useless item from now onwards. But there's no regret in his heart. After all, his survival is at stake here. Well, at least that's what he believed, as he wasn't explained anything about the rules of the trial beforehand. After making a breakthrough to rank 9, he checked upon the skills, specifically the Thunderblast skill that depends on his INT stat. In an instant, his facial expression changed and he broke out into a smile. "Yes, now, this is something I needed at the moment. I made the right choice." Mark's mood became a lot better all of a sudden as he stared at the details of the skill. Thunderblast LV9. Summon a lightning bolt from the heavens to strike down the enemy with 150% attack power, max 12.5. Cost 50% ether. CD, none. Chapter 343. The Trial of the Holy Beasts Final. About 15 seconds later, the white snake was completely healed. During this time, Mark didn't move from his spot and just focused on recovering his ether energy. As the white snake raised its head and hissed at him, Mark just crouched on the ground and covered himself with the blizzard wings while keeping an eye on the opponent's movement by looking through the small gap between the wings. Somehow, the white snake learned nothing from the experiences and tried to burn him in its flames. Clearly, it didn't work, and 6 more seconds are wasted. Hence, it went on to unleash its next skill, continuously spitting out a stream of venom at Mark for the next 5 to 6 seconds. Mark had already faced it once and wasn't that worried about the attack. He continued to stay in his position. 30 more seconds passed away, and the white snake has yet to find a way to break through the defense of Mark's blizzard wings. Whatever kind of attack it launches gets blocked by the wings. Neither its powerful and intense flames nor its head and tail slams was found to be effective. Nevertheless, the beast just didn't give up or try to think of different solutions either. Perhaps this is the difference between a real immortal realm beast and a programmed one. The white snake has no willpower or thoughts on her own and just battles according to how it was created and programmed by the creator of this trial. However, there is something strange about this beast. It was supposed to be an 11-circle realm beast emperor, and yet it was only unleashing a specific set of skills or normal attacks when it was supposed to have over a dozen of them. Is it because it can't, or is there something else? Mark wondered for a moment before realizing that his ether points reached the maximum. He stopped thinking about other things and spread apart his wings, followed by rising to his feet. The white snake saw that, and it immediately motioned its head backward to unleash the flames once again. Unfortunately, it didn't get such an opportunity as Mark already had his finger on the skill interface. He clicked on the Thunderblast skill without hesitation while concentrating on the target to lock onto it. A purple lightning bolt descended from the false sky and struck the head of the white snake. This time, the lightning just pierced its head. The energy released from the lightning bolt passed through its entire body, turning everything into ash. "The lightning turned purple," mumbled Mark in a daze, remembering the time when he had unleashed against the dark elves back when he claimed the fire seed. Originally, his lightning was blue. It turned red when his INT stats, including the buff from the amulet, crossed 7, and its attack power reached the demigod realm. Then the lightning turned yellow, when its attack power crossed the immortal realm. And now, as the power of a lightning bolt entered the Saint Realm 12 circle, it became purple. I wonder what color it would become after I make it through demigod realm and its power cross god realm 13 circle. Anyway, only one level to go. Let's finish it as quickly as possible. Song Yue must be worried because of the sudden change of events. After recovering his ether energy, he returned to the stairway and proceeded to climb onto the final step before the door, which is probably the exit. He can only know when he enters it. As the surroundings changed to that of a barren island with large and small rocks here and there, Mark saw his opponent was already waiting for him, just like how it was in the earlier levels. However, it didn't launch any attack and just turned its head to look at him. As if that wasn't surprising enough, for the first time, Mark was greeted by his opponent. "Hello there, warrior, I'm Thunderblast." Mark clicked on the skill in reflex as soon as his eyes fell on the dragon with the body of a goat and a single horn on its forehead. He neither read its details nor did he bother to converse with it. He went for the kill, right away. The purple lightning ambushed it by striking its head in an instant. The ancient grade beast named by Z was wounded heavily and turned into a bloody mess as it fell on the ground. In the next very instant, it was covered by golden energy. But Mark didn't give it the time to heal. Seeing that the first attack didn't kill the enemy, he clicked on the skill for the second time. With no cooldown timer, the purple lightning made its appearance once again. The sky rumbled again, and the lightning bolt struck the heavily injured beast without any mercy. This time, the beast couldn't defend itself and turned into a corpse, leaving behind the beast's spark. And this is how the one-sided battle against the final boss of this trial ended in 2 moves. Okay, now that was finished, let's return. I also needed to punish the bastard who threw me here and made me spend so many precious stat pills when I planned to sell them to the richer clients of northern empires for exorbitant prices. Assuming that everything is over, he proceeded to walk into the portal, of course, after he recovered his ether energy to full. After all, there is still a potential enemy on the outside waiting for him. Well, that was what he thought as he returned to the stairway and went on to walk through the door. However, he didn't return to the island. Instead, a little kid was waiting for him in some kind of white endless space. Everything was pure white in color. The background, his clothes, his hair, and even his skin were so pale that he appeared to perfectly blend in the surroundings. The little kid's unique appearance and the fact that Mark didn't leave this place made him quite alert. This person might be the creator of the trial or another monster in humanoid form. Perhaps this is the last monster he had to fight against. Mark decided to attack the kid without any warning, but as soon as he opened the skill interface, he saw that all the skills turned gray and became unavailable. Mark was taken aback by surprise. What the hell is going on? Without Thunderblast, how should I fight him? Not having many options left to act, he inspected the kid. However, all he saw are question marks, from name to description. Mark's heartbeat rose quite a bit. Now, his suspicion about the kid got stronger and he asked right away while trying to maintain calmness on the outside, "Are you the creator of this trial? The one who sent me here?" The kid, who looked like a 7-year-old, opened his mouth in response without any expression on his face. "Yes and no. I'm the creator of this trial, but not the one who dragged you here." Mark thought that there might be 2 enemies who were cooperating with each other. If there are multiple opponents, then the situation might become complicated. Taking a deep breath and forcefully calming down himself, Mark then asked, "Who are you? What do you guys want with me?" The little kid replied, "Before I give you the answer that you seek, let me introduce myself. My given name is Wang Zuo, and I'm the spirit of the divine throne of the heavens. Well, former throne to be exact." Ooh, divine throne. Somehow, I feel like my life is going to get more complicated. Chapter 344, Wang Zuo, the divine throne of the heavens. The background story of Wang Zuo is quite straightforward, and without any sort of conspiracies. He was the soul of the divine throne of the heavens, where the Jade Emperor sits and rules the entire celestial plane of existence. For eons, the divine throne went through several repairs and eventually went into a stage where it will cost a great number of resources and time. Hence, the Jade Emperor was forced to replace it with a new throne. Obviously, Wang Zhuo didn't like to be retired. He protested in rather a violent way, causing mayhem in the heavens and bringing a huge amount of losses of resources to the heavenly palace. As a result, he was expelled from the heavens for eternity. While wandering all over the universe for about millions of years, he eventually ended up on this earth. So let me get this straight. You were out of the job, so you threw a tantrum at your boss and got kicked out. Seriously, that's not a very smart method to take revenge. Mark was flabbergasted by the story of this pale-looking spirit and couldn't help wondering how unwise he was for a weapon that lived for billions of years. "Are you calling me stupid?" The spirit responded with a question. He might have a blank expression on his face, but his words clearly indicated that he was displeased by Mark's words. Mark shrugged his shoulders and answered, "It isn't necessary that only stupid people make stupid decisions. Even the intelligent ones also do. If I was in your position, I would ally myself with the bittermost enemy and provide him with all the confidential information I have on those gods to bring down the Jade Emperor." The divine spirit stared at Mark for a few seconds before he looked down at the floor and muttered, "That's right. I could have lent support to the Chaos King. I missed an opportunity." Chaos King? Mark wondered whether he is some sort of powerful demon or something. But then again, those matters have nothing to do with him at the moment. Hence, he put those thoughts away and asked the spirit, "So, how did you end up in the hands of Lord Yuqiang?" The divine spirit shook his head. "He actually doesn't know who I am, for I took the appearance of a scepter and identified myself as a wandering divine-grade weapon that is looking for a master and also a way to reach my peak." "So he is your master?" asked Mark with a hunch that the answer is no. After all, he doesn't believe that a weapon couldn't lie to its master. Just like he thought, the divine spirit made it clear of its independence. Obviously, he isn't. While he is a potential candidate, he was still a servant that serves the heavenly palace. There's no way I would accept someone like that as my master. Then that means, Mark wondered whether this divine spirit wanted him as his master. The divine spirit nodded. "Yuqiang might have sent you here for his own mission, but I cannot ignore the fact that you even managed to reach me. Not to mention, you are quite different from every other candidate who participated in this trial for the past 4,000 years. I don't know who your master is, but I see that you could unleash powerful skills with an attack power of at least 2 realms above your cultivation realm. It is the primary reason that I think that you will be suitable to wield my power." "Okay, thanks I guess." Mark wasn't that keen on taking a damaged divine-grade weapon, but he doesn't want to reject free credits either. Once the system becomes online, he can sell it and earn credits. However, there was a small problem here. What if this spirit can read out his thoughts after entering into a contract? If the system is online, it would be different, but without its support, he wasn't that confident that he would be able to protect his mind. While Mark was thinking of how to deal with this matter, the divine spirit continued, "In my present state, I will be able to transform into any type of weapon that you imagine and would be able to store enough energy to launch the full power of a minor god, 12 Circle. I can also imprison people inside this place and force them to battle against my transformations, just like you earlier went through. However, my abilities will largely be affected by the person who launches that skill, whether he is my master or not. Lord Yuqiang is in Saint Realm 12 Circle. Hence, the toughest monster I could conjure is an ancient beast named Zijai, which we encountered once during our travels. And in your hands, since you are currently in the Supreme Realm, I would be able to conjure the strongest legendary realm beast you have encountered in your life. Your memories will tell me that. There are other amazing abilities that I can help you out, but I think you will be more satisfied with my memory prowess. I have roamed numerous places with Lord Yuqiang, and will help you acquire countless treasures that mortals couldn't even dare to dream of. If by chance you were able to repair me, naturally, my abilities will be enhanced further. But yes, there is a risk too. Unless you are as strong as a major god, I won't recommend you to enter the celestial plane in the future. A long time might have passed, but I'm not sure whether the heavenly gods will turn hostile against you if they sense my presence in your mindscape. I think I have said everything that needs to be said. The rest lies in your decision. You have 5 minutes to think. After that, I will send you back to the outside world, and we will treat it like this proposition from me had never occurred. Wang Zhuo might have liked Mark as the latter passed the trial with flying colors, but that doesn't mean that he will beg him for the contract. After all, he was once the divine throne of the heavens, and he had his own pride. At the same time, he was also confident that Mark would accept him. After all, which mortal would dare to resist such an offer? Unfortunately for the divine spirit, Mark had different thoughts. He wasn't interested in the first place. Upon hearing its abilities, the first thing that came to his mind is to use it as a personal gun, but then he realized that it will access his memory. It would also mean that he will not only expose the existence of the system, but also his intentions of dismantling it to earn credits. That is enough for Mark to make his decision without any hesitation. After brief thinking, Mark said, "Wang Zhuo, I'll keep you in my storage ring for now and form the contract after I return to my home. You see, I'm currently on a vacation right now. It's already disturbing that I was forced into participating in this trial without being given any choice. So, I don't want to think about complicated issues for the rest of my vacation." The divine spirit didn't know why this is a complicated issue when it only requires a single drop of his blood to form the contract. But as a spirit that has less intelligence than even a teenage human, all he could think was that Mark was wary of the heavenly palace and probably wanted to see its abilities beforehand to see whether it is worth the risk to form a contract. As Mark asked him to wait for only 3 weeks, the divine spirit agreed to the arrangement. "All right." Mark let out a smile and proceeded to close his eyes as the divine spirit sent him back to the real world. Meanwhile, on the island, Lord Yuqiang was in the middle of a chat with Song Yue, although it looked like he was interrogating her with a strange set of questions about her personal life. He asked her how she grew up, how is her relationship with her parents and relatives, what does she think of her best friend, her happiest moment, her saddest moment, how she met Mark and how they fell in love, etc. Song Yue was obviously uncomfortable, but his identity as the god of seas and land Ju's insistence made her give honest answers to Yuqiang. Of course, those weren't the only reasons. Mark is currently in the middle of a trial and she doesn't want to anger this god over such things. At first, she thought that this eccentric god probably wanted to learn about the important moments of her life as he had business with her fiancé. But soon, her thoughts changed as Lord Yuqiang asked, "So, when you slept, have you ever felt like a god, for example, being able to manipulate and reconstruct the world in your dreams as you wish?" Song Yue flinched in surprise and Yuqiang didn't miss that either. "You did?" he asked. Chapter 345. Mark's price to fulfill Lord Yuqiang's mission. Song Yue had been facing such dreams since she was a child, but she never told about them to anyone except for her parents. After learning that they were called lucid dreams, which are rare but not unheard of, she no longer paid attention to them. However, when Lord Yuqiang questioned her in a way that indicated that he might know the exact details of her dreams, Song Yue fell into deep thoughts. She didn't answer it right away and took her time as she wasn't comfortable for some reason. Thankfully, before she gave her confirmation, Lord Yuqiang dropped their conversation in a jiffy and rose to his feet, announcing that Mark is out. Followed by Lord Yuqiang, the others also left the house and started walking toward the beach where the glowing scepter was floating earlier. After walking for a few steps, Lord Yuqiang halted his footsteps with a look of surprise on his face. "He's accepted by Wang Zhuo. Supreme Realm." Everyone saw icy-winged Mark flying toward them with the scepter in his hand. Soon, he landed before them with a smile on his face. The worried Song Yue sighed in relief upon seeing that he was fine and well. She wanted to rush forward and hug him but controlled her emotions because of the presence of people around. Meanwhile, Lan Ju also sensed the changes in Mark's cultivation realm. Before anyone pointed it out, he directly spoke of the matter. Lu Zhen, what in the hell did you face in the trial that you became a supreme being? As soon as the question escaped from the Zheng, the others looked at him in shock, especially Song Yun. Song Yun, like the rest of the humans, doesn't possess the ability to sense one's real strength. All he could calculate is one's cultivation realm based on the amount of ether energy. So, in his view, Mark was still in the sixth circle realm. This is why Lan Ju's question greatly shocked him. He wondered whether this future son-in-law of his was deliberately hiding his cultivation until now. Thankfully, his knight's helmet hid his expression, and no one else is paying attention to him. On the other hand, Mark's expression was frozen. His smile was wiped off his face, and he looked at the only stranger around before giving a chilling answer, courtesy of a sea god who had a disregard for people's opinions because they are weaker than him. I was forced to raise my strength. Lord Yuqiang's expression was also changed by Mark's rude reply. He furrowed his brows for a second but quickly calmed down and spoke in a polite manner. I apologize if I made you angry with my actions. It's just that I had to be sure that you can handle such situations even when you are unprepared. After all, my mission involves the fate of all the worlds located inside the entire mortal plane. Mark didn't respond to him right away, and instead, he activated his sage eyes to inspect the god without many expectations. Fortunately, a holographic screen with enough details appeared before his eyes. Yuqiang. Species: Human Serpent Celestial. Status: Humanoid form. Grade: Ancient. Rank: Low 12 Circle Real, Peak 12 Circle. Description: a descendant of the Yellow Emperor father's ancestor and a celestial serpent mother's ancestor, Yuqiang is the god of sea and wind. After looking at his details, Mark realized that it is indeed foolish to challenge him as advised by the divine spirit, and with Song Yue and others around, he didn't take the risk and swallowed down all of his anger. Trying to be as calm as possible, he then said to Lord Yuqiang, "Okay, I'm willing to listen. Tell me. But before that, I want to inform you that Wang Zhu accepted me as his master. You shouldn't have any problem with it, correct?" Lord Yuqiang took a glance at the scepter and replied, "Those who weren't acknowledged by Wang Zhu couldn't even touch him, much less carry him. The moment I saw the divine scepter in your hands, I realized it already. But still, I would like to hear it directly from his mouth." The sea and wind god closed his eyes and connected his consciousness with the scepter without even grabbing it. After a couple of seconds, he opened his eyes and said, "A contract hasn't been established between you two. Nevertheless, he wants to travel alongside you. I will respect his wishes." "Okay," Mark nodded and finally placed the scepter in his storage card. He then asked Yuqiang to get to the matter right away. In response, Lord Yuqiang snapped his fingers and created a noise-canceling barrier. Mark went through a similar experience a while ago. Hence, he wasn't alarmed and calmly stared at the sea god. "You might have already heard about me from Wang Zhu, but let me introduce myself before we get into the matter." The god of sea and wind explained his backstory. It was the time when mankind hasn't existed on this planet. He grew up in the celestial plane and always wanted to work for the heavenly palace. Unfortunately for him, when he broke through to the saint realm, he awakened the bloodline of his maternal ancestor, a celestial serpent. It might be a divine beast, but still a beast. As a result, he failed to get his dream job and was allocated a job in the mortal plane, which was protected by the four holy beasts since the time of its creation. This way, it was never been invaded by the forces of the upper planes. Roughly about 10 million years ago, a great evil force known as the Chaos King somehow resurrected and started invading worlds one after another. Countless gods fell in front of his strength. Even the holy beasts were no exception either. Lord Yuqiang somehow managed to survive the war and even killed a couple of generals of the Chaos King. Eventually, the Jade Emperor vanquished the evil once again, but the mortal plane was still vulnerable to the threats. Hence, a large number of minor gods and immortals were deployed to act as the guardians of several habitable worlds. Impressed by his acts of valor, the Jade Emperor gave two special missions to him. One of them is to restore the heavenly barrier over the mortal plane. It can only be possible once the four holy beasts will be resurrected and get to their peak strength. The only problem is that the holy beasts are linked to each other and need the blood of an intelligent mortal species to even be born from their respective eggs. Previously, it was a Jade Emperor who was their master when he used to be a human. For years, Lord Yuqiang visited several worlds to encounter mortals with the potential to reach the Saint Realm. Along the way, he met the wandering Wang Zhu and became friends. The latter helped him to conduct trials for potential candidates, making his job easier. And when Mark displayed the power of a saint for a moment during the battle against the Dark Elves, Lord Yuqiang's attention fell on him. The sea god then learned that Mark also tamed a 10-circle beast emperor. Because the system is offline, his real cultivation realm was easily found by the sea god. Obviously, the latter was surprised by his 6-circle realm cultivation. He started doing prophecies regarding Mark. And when Tishanan evolved into an ancient-grade beast, the sea god finally made his move. He could ask Mark's permission whether he wanted to participate in the trial, but Mark's low cultivation level made him act directly. Never in the world did he expect that not only Mark would clear the 10th level of the trial, which required the demigod realm in his opinion, but he would also tame the divine spirit. What's more, he made a breakthrough 3 times. It is another mystery to solve. Lord Yuqiang doesn't want to leave this opportunity at all costs. That explains his polite tone. "And what's the other mission?" asked Mark in curiosity after listening to the whole story. Lord Yuqiang shook his head in response. "That's confidential, and it was already completed, so no need to discuss it. For now, all I need you to do is to form a contract with the 4 holy beasts and become their guardian until they become demigod realm beasts. They get stronger by absorbing the natural energy from their surroundings. Hence, there won't be any burden on you either. However, their birth would also trigger an unwanted invasion from the other planes, for everyone wanted to claim power for themselves. They cannot fall into wrong hands. Adding on top of this, the golden-furred kitten of yours had now become an ancient grade, which will be sensed by its parent, the golden demon cat. It might send its army to take back its child. According to the verdict from the Heavenly Palace, no Saint Realm expert or a Beast 12 Circle is allowed to enter the mortal plane, and I will ensure that not even Immortal Realm experts will be able to land on this world. But the remaining must be handled by yourself. Since you cleared the trial, I believe that you can face them. Once the holy beasts cross the demigod realm, I will come and collect them in order to create the heavenly barrier. Anyways, this is everything I had to say. In compensation for everything that you went through earlier, and for everything that was about to happen in the near future, whatever you wish, I will try my best to fulfill it. Do you desire power, authority to rule the world? My bloodline want to become the wealthiest in the entire mortal plane, you name it. All the adamantium available in the mortal plane, replied Mark, right away as if he had already prepared beforehand. That's my price. Chapter 346, The Rebirth of the Holy Beast. Adamantium cannot be available in pure form, and you will only be given in the form of ores. Will that be okay? Replied the sea god without thinking too much. Mark didn't expect this sea god would agree so quickly, but since he was already getting what he wanted, he put an end to this matter with a silent nod. With a smile on his face, the god of the sea then snapped his fingers, bringing out 4 beast eggs, each of them being as big as the houses the robots built on the island. Each of the giant eggs had a different appearance too. One was blue and looked like it had scales. One was red and appeared to be quite hot, as if it was very angry. The third one was white in color but have stripes all over. And the last one just looked like a giant black rock that fell from the sky. As Mark and the others were staring at them, the sea god conjured two more things out of thin air. "Here, I need your blood." After giving him a special knife and a bowl, Yukiang gestured for Mark to proceed with the blood ceremony as he wanted to see them born in person. Mark slashed his own palm with the knife and collected about 10–15 ml of blood in the bowl before handing it over to the sea god. Yukiang then placed his palm on the bowl to inject a part of his divinity into the blood. This was insurance. It was done so that Mark doesn't have complete control over the holy beasts. Once he was done with the process, he flew higher and poured the blood on each egg, hoping that this will finally satisfy the requirements to hatch them. As the 4 beast eggs gave off a blinding flash of light, the sea god's face also glowed with happiness for his efforts turned into success after so many years. And soon, he could see himself going back home and working in the heavenly palace. One by one, the eggs cracked and the holy beasts broke through their respective shells and stepped out. Mark's eyes fell on them. The first to come out is a giant blue dragon with long whiskers and 2 arms but no wings. Even then, it was seen floating in the sky. The second one is a fiery scarlet bird that was bathing in intense flames. It has a chicken head, swallow's chin, snake's neck, fish's tail, and 5 color feathers. The third one to hatch is a giant white tiger cub with black stripes. And finally, the giant black tortoise was born with its tail, surprisingly, in the form of a golden serpent. Both of them appeared to be sharing the same body. As Mark proceeded to use his sage eyes to find their information, Yukiang greeted them loudly without bothering to hide his excitement. "Welcome back to the world of the living, azure dragon of the east, vermilion bird of the south, white tiger of the west, and black tortoise of the north. My name is Yukiang, a servant of the heavenly palace." The 4 holy beasts responded with their roars. While they were quite loud as newborns, they sounded quite adorable at the same time too, well, at least to the god of sea and wind. He just couldn't stop smiling as he pointed at Mark. "This is Lu Zhen, and he will be your guardian until all of you become qualified enough to go back to your rightful places. I will be looking forward to the day when we will meet again." As the beasts turned their heads to look at their parent, the sea god landed on the ground and told Mark that he will fulfill his promise to collect all the available adamantium in the mortal plane and give it to him within 1 year. However, he didn't remind Mark about holding the end of his bargain. With his divinity injected into their bodies, the sea god was confident that Mark wouldn't be able to turn the holy beasts against him in the future. As for Mark himself, Yukiang was aware of his greediness and darkness, but still, he wasn't worried. After all, he is in the Saint realm and possessed a bloodline that is even more powerful than Blizzard Pegasus. In his view, he can kill the mortal at any time. Unfortunately, this minor god neither knows about the heaven-defying system that Mark possessed, nor was he aware that he completed the trial by defeating an immortal realm beast of ancient grade. If he had known, he would be more careful in giving this task to him all the people. But for now, the situation ended up like this. Once he left, Mark paid attention to the holy beasts, which have the memories of their previous life according to the sea god. "I'm leaving this place very soon. If you can reduce your size, I will be able to take you all with me. If you can't, then you can stay on this island for a while until I return." Mark quickly received his response from the holy beasts. All of them gave off a blinding flash of light before turning into the size of an average-sized dog. He let out a pleasant smile and nodded. "Good, now you look more approachable. By the way, these are my family members. She is Song Yue, my wife. He is Lan Ju, he is Black Knight. This is Baltro and Anand Spencer, formerly Tashanan." Mark introduced one after another who were standing around him. The holy beasts observed the fellow beasts and the humans for a few seconds before greeting the golden-furred cat in Song Yue's arms. The rest were ignored. "Mon." The cat raised its paw while continuing to cozy itself in Song Yue's arms, as if it is a lord greeting its subjects. This irked the holy beasts, especially Behu, the white tiger cub. It took a giant leap at Mark and landed on his shoulder before looking down at Anand and letting out a cute roar. As the guy whose soul was linked to these beasts, Mark automatically understood what these little fellas were feeling, and he decided to put discipline into all of his contracted beasts now that he had such strength to do so. Of course, there's also the intention of showing off and gaining loyalty points hidden in this decision. Hence, he acted quickly by suddenly calling out to the Zheng, "Lan Ju, let's spar a bit. I wanted to know how much stronger I got." Song Yue and others abruptly turned their heads in surprise, not expecting it from Mark. After all, he just came out of the trial. "Everyone move away." Mark addressed the others in a serious tone, making the little holy beasts flinch for a second before they scurried away like good pets. As the others also followed the suit, only Lan Ju was left beside him. "Lu Zhen, I know what you are doing, but your plan might backfire too, as I won't fake it and admit defeat just to show that you are stronger." The Zheng warned him in a low tone after staring at him for a while. To which Mark responded with a question. "If I win, will you follow my orders without even talking back, at least for the following 2-3 months?" Chapter 347. The Zheng submits to Mark's authority. 10 minutes later, a giant blue-colored fireball was coming toward Mark, who controlled his blizzard wings to block them. The fireball struck the icy wings and disappeared. The five-tailed scarlet leopard disappeared and reappeared behind Mark in an instant before opening its mouth widely. It was about to attack him with a hydro blast, but the lightning not only intervened in perfect time, but also threw a punch right at its chin. The scarlet leopard blasted away for a dozen meters and crashed onto the group with blood trickling down its mouth. Meanwhile, Mark turned around while conjuring an ice spear. He looked at the leopard, which is slowly rising to its feet. "So, will you finally agree that I'm stronger than you and admit defeat?" Pushing away the dust from its body, the leopard replied, "I have yet to use my lethal skills, Lu Zhen. Since this is just a spar, I'm not being too serious." "Well, I'm also the same, Lan Ju. I wasn't also giving my all because this isn't a real battle and there are others around, or else it would have been finished long ago." Mark countered his statement, displaying his confidence, although it appeared more like arrogance. The scarlet leopard stared at Mark for a few seconds in silence and then said, "All right, if your clone managed to survive this next attack of mine, I will consider it my defeat." "Bring it on, then." Mark gestured it to proceed. The scarlet leopard then stretched its legs wide and raised 5 of its tails. Soon, each of its tails was covered with attribute energy. Within seconds, a powerful sphere was being generated above the beast. Mark saw flames, water, lightning sparks, stones, and wind manage to converge into a giant disk to become translucent in color. "This is my strongest attack that I have only used once in my life, Lu Zhen. The pure natural energy attribute attack is deadlier than any other attribute. Neither fire can burn it nor can ice freeze it." Lan Ju warned him as his skill reached its completion. Strangely, for some reason, the Zheng didn't ask him to stay away to save himself from getting killed and only bragged about its mighty prowess. Is there some sort of plan he had? There might be. However, Mark doesn't seem worried in the least. He was quite calm as he stared at the translucent sphere. "Qi Long clone, get behind me." The lightning clone quickly got behind him as the translucent sphere was launched. Mark used the blizzard wings as a shield once again. As the attack reached halfway, the Zheng mumbled in confidence. "He is too proud of his wings. There's no way he's going to survive this. Maybe after I resurrect him, he will get to his senses and, Lan Ju was stunned for a second, all of a sudden, as its attack struck the blizzard wings. However, no destruction happened, as the Beast Emperor expected. Forget about killing Mark in the process. Not even a feather of his wings was damaged. The so-called pure natural energy, which is the combination of 5 basic attributes, got defeated in front of sturdy icy wings. A memory was triggered as he saw the silhouette of Lan Jensen behind Mark, Master. In it, a teenage-looking Lan Ju was chatting with a dashing young man, who looked quite similar to Mark. The teenage boy asked his master about his strongest attack. In response, the latter replied that his wings were quite invincible. the scene changes to the battle against an ancient-grade beast, Killen, and its hundreds of servants. As they were rampaging all over the Kunyu mountain range, the Zhang hid behind Lan Zhengxin, who was blocking a powerful beam of concentrated energy from the dungeon overlord. Lanju, hello. Ah yes, sorry about that. Lanju came back to his senses and apologized without actually meaning to do it. Mark was slightly surprised by its tone and apology, but didn't comment on the matter, thinking that this beast emperor acknowledged his strength. Meanwhile, Lanju finally realized that Mark indeed has the strength to back up his arrogance. Unknowingly, his loyalty shot up by a significant amount of percentage, enough for him to accept this human as his superior. After removing the barrier around the island which cut off the place from the rest of the world, so that their battle wouldn't alert any hidden demigod, Lanju then cupped his fists and bowed, ready to obey your orders, sect master. Mark felt elated by the Zheng's response but tried his best to control his emotions and spoke as he raised fingers one by one. You have but 3 jobs to fulfill. 1. I need you to look after the holy beasts just like you did with Anan, golden-furred kitten. 2. Using your human identity as Wu Weibao, intimidate every idiot that tries to look down on me or go against me. And if I ask you to eliminate them, do it without asking me for the reasons. And 3. In case of a strong enemy that cannot be handled by Baltro, your number 1 priority will be protecting Song Yue. Can you do these 3 things? Lanju readily agreed to the orders without questioning him, holding up the end of their earlier wager. Good. Mark nodded with a smile before placing a D-Day on the Phoenix Empire's downfall in his mind. I look forward to that day when you will finally understand how it feels to lose everything, Lan Jingyi. Imperial City, Lian Empire. Inside a private chamber of the palace, the ruler of the biggest empire of the Vermilion Bird continent was staring at Shang Wei, the 3rd prince of the Phoenix Empire, as he was discussing the details of the trade and other things with the prime minister of the former. After thinking for a while, he suddenly interrupted them with an unusual comment. Prince Wei, would you like to become a key bridge between our empires? Both of them turned to look at Emperor Shila in a bit of surprise and confusion. The Prime Minister didn't understand the meaning behind Emperor's words, but Shang Wei felt something strange. A vague suspicion came to his mind. To clarify his doubt, he voiced out, "How may I be of service, Your Majesty?" Chapter 348, Shang Wei at the Lian Empire. As the 3rd prince of the Phoenix Empire asked Emperor Shi to speak of his intentions, the latter simply let out a smile and said, "What do you think of my granddaughter, Princess Shi Huan? You met her yesterday. I believe both of you are a good match." The image of a battle-crazy lady in knight's armor appeared in Shang Wei's head, and instantly his mood soured a bit. Forcing out a smile, he replied, "Your Majesty, I already have a girl that I love." "Who is it that stole the heart of an intellectual like you?" asked the 83-year-old emperor without showing any sort of displeasure at getting his proposition rejected. It looked like he was quite curious. "Which empire's princess is she? I heard that Western Moon's princess was quite intelligent and wise. Is it her perhaps?" Shang Wei answered honestly, "She is not a princess but the daughter of a minister. He is the current head of the Lin clan." "But you are going to be the successor to Emperor Shang Fu and will take his place soon," commented the surprised emperor. He further said, "Don't make the same mistake as your father, Prince Wei. You should marry someone of a royal bloodline to match your status." "It is not because she is my granddaughter that I'm telling you this. But it is because we have cordial relationship with the Phoenix Empire for centuries, and I just wanted your future to be brighter. As you know, Princess Shihuan isn't just beautiful and strong, but she also awakened our ancestral bloodline too. Your descendants will obviously rule the South for the next millennia too. As a well-wisher, I suggest you take Princess Shihuan as your first wife and then marry whoever you like. I heard that you are one of the smartest in the Phoenix Empire, and I also see your intellectual prowess in person. I'm sure you will make the right choice. So, take your time and answer." Shang Wei wanted to reject him right away, as it hasn't been that long since he watched the princess battling a seven-circle realm beast king, without caring about her injuries. Her bloodied figure on top of the monster's corpse, her barbarian style of eating the meat and drinking the wine, and her straightforwardness in talking, everything is still fresh on his mind. In his opinion, apart from her pretty face and nice figure, there's nothing elegant about her. Even if he wasn't in love with Lin Zhu, Shang Wei would never marry such a person. At the same time, he was also aware that once the bloodline of Phoenix integrates into his body, his own potential will also become comparable to his second brother, Shang Wen. Perhaps, then the Lin clan's heiress would finally accept him. Or so, Shang Wei hopes it to be. Hence, there is no way that he would even try to ponder on the subject, but then again, he should consider the old man's identity too. In the end, he gave a diplomatic answer. "Your Majesty, I'm thankful for your goodwill. I will think about it and send you my reply very soon." "Good, I'm expecting good news." Emperor Shi was satisfied by his reply, and Shang Wei continued to negotiate the terms of their agreements. It was the time of evening. Shang Wei somehow managed to finish his dinner after being intimidated by the presence of a gracefully looking princess, Shi Huan, the entire time. Her younger brother was bragging about her heroics during the battle against a rebel army. He was explaining how she, with just a unit of 18, faced more than 300 enemies, how she still emerged as the winner and earned the title of Blood Warrior. Killing a monster is quite different from killing a human being without any mercy, even if the opponent is an enemy. Not to mention, as a scholar who grew up in the era of peace, Shang Wei had never seen even a small war. So, he wasn't that comfortable with the solution that can result in so many deaths. Shang Wei felt like this princess believed in violence to solve every issue and stayed away from her as much as possible. Thankfully, the princess didn't care about his presence. So, no harm was being done here, and he managed to return to his room without facing any unexpected issues. But then again, he also grew up as a prince, and it is impossible that a person of his stature wouldn't get embroiled in something troublesome. And it came in the form of a whisper from his trusted imperial guard. Shang Wei wanted to sleep in peace, for he was looking forward to returning home. Just like anyone who has been away for several weeks away from his family, he was quite excited to see them. There are so many things that he wished to share with his father, and there are so many things he would also like to know the details of. After all, many lives have been changed since his departure from the Phoenix Empire. However, the news from his bodyguard made him lose his sleep completely. He fell into deep thoughts. "The moment I learned that I will receive the Seed of Fire, I knew that eldest brother would try to eliminate me, but never in the world did I expect him to be in cahoots with that mysterious soul organization." According to Shang Bo, fourth prince, even his net couldn't get hold of the information on this organization. But they appeared to be quite powerful and did many high-profile assassinations without failure. "As long as I'm in the city, I will be safe. It's quite possible that they try to assassinate me when I travel to Western Yan by sea route. And once I reach home, I will absorb the fire seed and possibly make a breakthrough. So how should I survive this?" Shang Wei thought for a while before he started writing something in the scroll. Soon, his bodyguard left the palace with the letter, and the prince lies down on the bed. "Well, I feel a bit guilty for using Emperor Shi's favorable impression of me to my advantage, but I guess all is fair in love and war." Chapter 349. Shang Wei gets abducted. The next day at dawn, surrounded by a unit of 20 elite knights and a general of the Imperial Army of Leon, Shang Wei left the palace in a grand manner, as if he was announcing to the world that a high-profile target is sitting inside the horse carriage. Except for the emperor and his trusted aides who knew the truth of the fire seed, no one in Leon Empire is that thrilled to have Shang Wei at the imperial palace. As in their eyes, he is just a four-circle realm mage, and the third prince with no real power at Phoenix Empire too. Hence, when he left the palace with such heavy security, the imperial family members only looked down on him further and were rather happy that this leech was gone. As for the emperor's favorite granddaughter, she doesn't care. The day went on for the rest of the people as usual. Roughly 4 hours after his departure, in the palace, there was an argument going on in the courtroom between the crown prince and the emperor's nephew. "Your Majesty, the imperial palace has pumped more than 800,000 gold coins into this project for the past year, and it wasn't going anywhere due to constant rains," spoke the crown prince in a loud tone with his chest puffed out. "I suggest that we should cancel this project and not fund anymore." As he put out his proposition in a firm tone, everyone's eyes shifted to the emperor's nephew, who is ruling one of the 5 provinces of the empire as a vassal for the throne. Sun Riqiang then rose to its feet and argued back in an imposing manner. "Crown Prince Shiqiu, you probably don't understand the significance of the bridge considering you have never stepped outside this palace. Tianjin Bridge is not only a dream project of Emperor Shizun, the current emperor's late great-grandfather, but it is also a way to connect the western provinces. Do you know how much we can shorten the distance once the bridge is completed? It will be reduced from 12 days of travel to just 1 day." "Oh, really?" The crown prince let out a meaningful smile and he counterattacked right away as if he was prepared beforehand. He pulled out a scroll from his sleeves and spoke. "It came to my notice that the construction workers were receiving meager wages and only a single-time meal. I heard that even children were being hired." As Sun Riqiang's face darkened by his statement, the crown prince of the Lian Empire further suggested that they should redirect the funds to build Emperor Shizun's statue instead, as it will at least improve the image of the imperial family. As for the Tianjin Bridge, he commented how it was being used by some people to earn money. The crown prince closed his argument and turned to his father and bowed. "Your Majesty, I request for a full investigation on the management of the funds on the Tianjin Bridge and stop the funding until it is over." "You don't go too far, Shiqiu." The emperor's nephew raised his voice. Anger was clearly evident on his face. "Lord Sun," the emperor furrowed his eyebrows in displeasure, "this is a courtroom, please mind your tone." Sun Riqiang hurriedly apologized and commented that the crown prince is misusing his position to slander him with baseless accusations. The emperor was about to react to it by siding with his son, but before he did that, an injured royal knight stormed into the room without waiting for permission and fell onto his knees. While the crown prince got angered by his behavior and expressed his intentions to punish him, "Emperor," she gestured for his son to sit down and told the knight to speak of the matter. The royal knight rose to his feet and said, "Your Majesty, we were ambushed by unknown experts around the outskirts of the city and General Wan was heavily injured in the process. Prince Shang Wei was abducted along with his imperial guard." "What did you say?" The calm-looking emperor suddenly flared as he rose to his feet. The others also got up from their seats as it is disrespectful to continue sitting when the emperor is in a standing position. "Who is that dared to abduct my guest?" "I apologize, Your Majesty. It happened very quickly. By the time we understood what was going on, everyone was knocked out." The royal knight proceeded to plead for mercy. The emperor told him to rise and then looked at the crown prince. "Shiqiu, I need you to send messages to all the sects and tell the supreme commander to meet me right away. Put up a 500,000 gold coins reward in all the guilds to save Prince Wei and bring him alive. Make sure this matter gets resolved as soon as possible. We need to prevent a war with the South at all costs." The crown prince and the others were quite shocked by the emperor's reaction. 500,000 gold coins are by no means a small amount even for the imperial palace. Is that weak southern prince that important? The ministers couldn't help but wonder. While the rest stayed silent, the crown prince didn't stand still. He quickly opinioned against the order. "But father, it is our general who was harmed by their adversaries and we are the victims. Besides that, our military is far stronger than the Phoenix Empire. A timid Emperor Shang won't dare to wage an unnecessary war against us. So, there's no need to send our city into chaos by announcing such a hefty reward. Shiqiu, this is an order from an emperor, and I don't give you permission to defy it." Sheila raised his voice with a stern look, and the crown prince immediately shut his mouth. He no longer tried to reason with his father, who had already taken his decision. Cupped his fists, the crown prince respectfully bowed. "It will be done, your majesty." Meanwhile, somewhere in the mountains, far away from the imperial city, a group of cultivators was seen carrying an unconscious Shang Wei and his imperial guard. After an hour of travel, the group entered one of the caves and put both of them on the ground as they removed their hoods. The leader of the group looked at the prince and spoke in a low tone, "Wake them up." Following his order, one of his subordinates took out a potion from his storage ring and opened its lid. A pink-colored gas escaped the bottle and entered Shang Wei's nose. Just like his bodyguard, Shang Wei opened his eyes after a couple of seconds and looked around. As his eyes fell on the middle-aged fellow with a goatee, a pleasant smile appeared on his face and he greeted him. "It's been a while, Grand Mage Wang." The leader of the group nodded and then said in a serious tone, "You can rest here as long as you like and stay hidden from the rest of the world. The food and water can be arranged too. I hope you will hold up the end of your bargain too. Once I return to my home safely, I will talk to my father and provide you with the things you have asked for." "It's my promise," replied the prince. Chapter 350. An Alliance Proposition to the Eastern Sun Kingdom. 3 days later, Helios City. At the entrance of the capital city of Eastern Sun, which lies on the northern coast of the southern province of the kingdom, an army of about 300 to 400 soldiers was on standby, with each one having a rifle in his or her hand, while their general was staring at the sky in anticipation, in order to proceed with the orders came from above. As the soldiers were staying in this position since morning without any movement, some of them became busy scolding Mark in their hearts. The sun is on their head, they didn't have any food or even water, and their legs were about to give out. However, not one of them dared to speak or even move from the spot, for the orders from a king are absolute. Because of that, even the nearby citizens who gathered on the sidelines out of curiosity couldn't leave either, as it would be disrespectful to their king. And then, finally, when a majestic raven with 2 pairs of eyes appeared in the sky, some became excited to see these important royal guests, while the others sighed in relief that they won't have to stand in the sun any longer. Looking at the kingdom's supreme general and the guests standing behind him, General Lu Zhen, the 3rd strongest soldier in the royal army, ordered the soldiers, "The royal guests are here. Begin." Bang, 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 bang. The loud shots of rifles reverberated in the surroundings as a part of this ceremony invented by the king, specifically for Mark, as a sign of respect for his firearms. Of course, that doesn't mean those weapons will be sold in the Eastern Sun Kingdom. The king doesn't want civilians to possess them at any cost, as he believed it would cause chaos. For now, it is just for the usage of military personnel only. Mark wanted to convince the kid and change his opinion. It is one of the reasons for his visit. However, he cannot appear as someone who was seeking something from the Eastern Sun. After all, his status has changed from a while ago. Right now, Mark is in the Supreme Realm. Even though he doesn't possess an adequate amount of ether particles, he was confident that he can crush anyone below the Immortal realm with his eyes closed. Theoretically, he is probably the strongest human on the planet. Naturally, he felt that he was in a higher position compared to the king. As a result, staring down at the rifle army in a calm manner, Mark gave a nod. "Your king really knows how to welcome a guest, General Li." This comment made the Supreme General frown in displeasure, as he doesn't like the fact that someone is talking about his king in such casual speech, much less acknowledging a weapon seller like Mark. However, he was quick to hide his emotions, not intending to offend the Supreme Realm expert on Mark's side. In the end, he simply forced out a smile and thanked this royal guest. As the beast went past the crowd, General Xianjun dismissed the crowd and followed them to the royal palace on a winged horse. Soon, Mark reached his destination and was welcomed warmly by Lan Jiang and 12-year-old Yang Zhen, the king of the Eastern Sun, in person. Along with them, there was also Princess, whose past was connected to Mark's past life, although at the moment, she appeared to be distracted by a tiny squirrel playing on her palm. After the usual greetings and introductions are finished, everyone was led to the royal guest rooms to rest. But there was no talk happening at a later time of the day too. For 2 days straight, forget about important meetings between Mark and the king to fulfill their respective agendas. Mark and Zhen didn't even talk in private. Instead, the weapon seller from the Phoenix Empire just enjoyed the privilege of being a royal guest, spending his time with Song Yue as they toured around the capital city. Fortunately, it wasn't as if nothing important happened during these past couple of days. For Lan Jiang, Mark's visit turned out to be fruitful. When he saw the Zheng in human form, his legs actually shivered and his speech stammered while addressing the guests. Lan Jiang later told Zhen that the guest is someone anyone in the kingdom shouldn't dare to offend no matter the cost. The king thought that it is because the person named Wu Weibao is too powerful for them to handle. But the real reason was that he was afraid of the Zheng. Surprisingly, Lan Ju asked for a meeting with Lan Jiang in private and ordered him to assist Mark in reviving the sect branch if he wants to repent his selfish actions for running away. Lan Jiang had planned to take his grandnephew to his home and would never support the revival of the sect branch at Kunyu Mountain Range. However, at the same time, he also knew that he cannot fulfill his mission with Lan Ju against him. Hence, for now, he promised the Zheng to support the Lan sect branch's revival, and he will do that. But when the time comes, he won't hesitate to go back on his word. However, on the third day, he finally became aware that the current Mark is vastly different from the one he met a while ago. The time was around 2 in the afternoon. Song Yue and others left for their respective rooms after having a delicious lunch while Mark asked for a private meeting with Lan Jiang and Zhen to discuss the matters. The king obliged his wishes and went on with the meeting. As soon as all the servants were dismissed from the meeting chamber and Lan Jiang went on unleashing a noise-canceling barrier to protect their conversation, Mark's first action was to reveal his real identity to the 12-year-old kid. Looking straight into the eyes of the king of the Eastern Sun, he spoke in a serious tone. "King Aoyang, before we speak about other things, let me reintroduce myself in case Prime Minister Lan Jiang didn't tell you my secret." As the kid's expression changed to that of curiousness, Mark continued to speak. "I'm a bit quite ashamed to say this, but I'm the son of Emperor Shang Fu and Queen Consort Lan Jingyi." Lan Jingyi, the Eastern Sun's king, furrowed his brows and immediately turned his head to look at his prime minister. The latter nodded in response and said, "Your Majesty, Shang Zhen is my grandnephew who inherited the Blizzard Pegasus of our clan." "It's Lu Zhen, Mr. Lan," corrected Mark right away with a disapproving look. He further added, "From the moment I was thrown away by Lan Jingyi and swapped with Shang Wei, I ceased to be a member of the imperial family. At the moment, I'm nothing but the grandson of late Lan Jiangxin." Yang Zhen stared at him for a few seconds and nodded as he quickly absorbed the shocking information. "Okay, that was unexpected, but why you are telling me this? What do you want from me?" He asked the weapon seller directly while wondering whether this weapon seller would ask his help to reclaim the throne of Phoenix Empire or something. In response, Mark surprised him once again with his reply, "Soon, I will be engaged to the princess of the Western Moon Kingdom. I wish to form an alliance between your two independent kingdoms." "What did you say?"